Bastard. Look at that guy.
So you'll hear music for a couple minutes. During that time, we'll be sharing on this social.
Oh, I thought we were done already. I was ready to sign off.
You're right. Hey, thanks for coming out.
Look at that guy.
You are, in fact, watching The Dorkening.
You're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned.
For all the geek news everywhere. Dorkening.
And this is The Dorkening. Trust me, I'm smarter than these guys.
Because The Dorkening is the best and most educational entertainment and information source that the Trauma Team knows of. It's the best. The Dorkening.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. You're watching Splash Pages, powered by The Dorkening. My name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have a killer guest tonight. So you may know our guest. He's the Flash in Justice League Action, Batman Unlimited, Superman, the animated series. He's also on Lego Batman, tons of stuff. And you may know him as Ferris Bueller as well. And we'd like to welcome the most awesome Charlie Schlatter. How's it going, sir?
It's going good, man. How are you doing?
Doing great. And we also have a.
Let me just ask you really quickly. How's our connection? Is it good?
You're good.
Yep.
Okay, good. Because I'm hearing you guys like a little fuzzy, but it might just be me because I own a lot of cheap equipment that I like to record on for professional purposes.
No worries. I have a secondary audio recording going here, so everything sounds perfect. Yeah. And we also have Velvet Joker. How's it going, bud?
What's up, guys? Hey, it's your man, Rich Davis, a.k.a. Velvet J, here on another Tuesday on the award-winning Splash Pages Comic Book Club podcast. And yes, we do have a great show. We just came back from a victorious visit at Rhode Island Comic-Con, and now here we are slamming it again with the great Charlie Schlatter, who's had quite a career, and we hope to unwind some of those stories tonight.
Yeah, totally. We definitely need to get him to talk about George Burns. But before we get into that, Mr. Drew, how's it going?
Drew's too big for this, man. He's out. It's like,
welcome to Splash Pages. The guy that we have, he's great.
Sorry, Drew. We didn't mean to bother you, bud.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just finishing his feet.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
And the man that is his own light source, Mr. Brandon Powers, how's it going?
Listen, if I were not wearing the hat, it would be even worse because this thing is like no.
It's all right, Lex.
No. It's the opposite of a solar panel. It just bounces light back. Hey everyone, I'm Brandon Powers, aka Powerful Brandon. Just here because these gentlemen asked me to come on over and partake in the fun and to be able to talk with Charlie Schlatter tonight. And this is going to be a blast, I think.
Oh,
Totally.
hell yeah.
Totes.
Yeah, just want to give everybody a heads up. If you post a comment, I might not see it because we have you going through a couple different sources here. So head on over to the YouTubes or the Facebooks if your comment doesn't come through. Yes, sir, Drew.
So I want to start off with a question for our guests. Since we weren't recording when we were already talking, and everyone, you missed a wonderful analysis about why West Coast bagels and pizza just do not compare to East Coast, which, true story. So, Charlie, I just have one question because I noticed something when I was looking at research for you. So your original break in acting was when you were younger, when you auditioned for Oliver Twist to impress a girl, supposedly. So that was funny enough. That was the first play I ever auditioned for myself.
Oh,
so I thought that was interesting. So I have to ask, was she impressed? Because you got the lead, man. You were Oliver Twist. So
I was Oliver. I got the lead. I got the girl for about a week. And then, she saw right through that veneer. She's like, all right.
She didn't want more?
She didn't want more. She said, please, sir, no.
No more.
No more of your drool, sir.
Yeah, it got gruelish. No, in fact, it's so funny. I still know this girl. Her name is Ellen Decker. My wife danced with her at like my 20-year high school reunion. She was adorable. She's the cutest thing ever. But yeah, I had zero interest in being in any sort of play or acting or anything like that. But I had interest in Ellen Decker, and she says, "Oh my God, it'd be so cute if you were Oliver." And I said, "Okay, I'll go be Oliver." And so, you sing and you dance and you do your thing on stage, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll take that guy." So no one believes that story because they all think I'm gay. So they're like, "There was no girl that you were, anyway."
Brandon, that's actually true. Because I've done a lot of theater in my life, and every once in a while, someone's like, "So, Drew, you do a lot of theater, and you know how to dance decently, and you're friends with a lot of women, or just something." I said, "Yes, my game is better than you." I don't know.
Wait, hold on. So hold on. So what you're telling me is all the years that I was on stage and even joined drama club in high school. Wait a minute. You know what? I'm starting to do the math on this, and the lack of dates I had is really starting to make sense. Holy shit, Drew.
Yeah. Yep.
Wait,
guys,
Brandon,
you're blowing
I was
my mind.
today years old.
We've met you, Brandon. I'm not sure it was the theater.
I would love for you to elucidate.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, that's right. Backpedal real quick.
I'm just fucking around. I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm sorry. You're so powerful.
He will send the wife to get you, and she is the sweetest, most lethal Wolverine ever. So she'll go.
Yeah, she's 5'1". She'll treat your knees like a speed bag.
But I wish that I was as tall as 5'1" when I was in high school because, and I continued to do theater because it was like, I loved sports always. I was a big sports nut, but everyone kind of grew except me. And then this was just like the greatest place to be, like socially, and as a 7th grader, you're hanging out with the 8th and 9th graders in middle school. And then that just carried on into high school and then into college, where it just, I was doing a play in upstate New York at a theater called the Hangar Theater, and just kind of got discovered by a casting director. And basically my first audition out of the gate was for a movie called Bright Lights, Big City. And I got it that day, which was really weird. And so I'm really bad at giving advice to actors. Like, hey, how did you get started? It's like, I don't know, man. I just got plucked. And, but again, I always do tell people, you want to be an actor, you got to learn how to act. You got to either do it, at an academic level or an amateur level or whatever, but you just have to do that. And it's, preparedness meeting that situation. So I guess I was kind of ready at that time. So yeah, I've been so lucky.
No, the Charlie Schlatter method is do it to impress someone, because clearly, even if it's for a week, you'll win.
Never do it. Never do it for yourself. Never do it for those cathartic spiritual reasons. Do it to impress the ladies. That's all that matters.
Exactly. Whatever works. All right, everybody. This method is out. This is how you get to work with Michael J. Fox on your first gig. Okay. You impress the girl, work your way up, pay your dues. And there you go, But I think it also helps being his size at that time, because I remember my agent had sent me this audition. She said, "Do you want to audition for Bright Lights, Big City?" And I originally said, "Well, I just got done reading the book." And she said, it's to play the lead character's brother. She named the character, and I said, "Oh, that's the brother, and he's like really big. They describe him as a guy who fills a door frame." And she goes, "Well, the lead is being played by Michael J. Fox, so I think you have a chance at this thing." So I said, "Sure." And so I went into New York City like the next day and read with the casting director. And she said, "That's lovely. Would you like to meet the director and read with him?" And I said, "Yeah, that would be great." The director was Jim Bridges, a guy who's done just countless movies, Urban Cowboy, Paper Chase, just a brilliant, brilliant director. And so I read for him, and he said, "Gosh, that's really nice. You want to read with Michael?" And I said, "Okay." And then Michael came in, I read with him, and he said, "Would you like to be in a movie?" And of course I said, "Okay." And then I was just in a movie. So that's how it happens.
Nice.
How was working with Michael J. Fox?
Dude, he was the best. It was like having a really kind older brother who was just awesome. I mean, he was just a really, really good guy. And, he knew that it was my first show. So he was really respectful of that. And he never made me feel, smaller than anybody or less important than anybody. And he really was encouraging. He really, really liked me. I remember we did a couple of scenes, and we were coming back down from like upstate New York. We were doing scenes that were never in the movie. But anyway, it's me, him, and Tracy Pollan. We're in the car coming home back to the hotel, the Mayflower on Central Park West, I think was the hotel. I don't remember, but I think that was it. Anyway, so he says, you coming to Daly's tonight? And I had no idea. I don't know if you guys know what dailies are. I had no idea what dailies are or were, but dailies are, the scenes that you shot the day before or whatever. So you all sit in a theater and you watch them. And so I said, "Yeah, of course I'm going to dailies, Michael. I'll be there." Cut to, I'm in my hotel room looking for bars. I'm thinking it's a bar called Daly's, like near Central Park West. And, lo and behold, there were like a million bars named Daly's. And so I was only able to get to like 4 of them. The cabs were so expensive. And so anyway, I strike out, I go home, and the next day I see him, and I say, and he said, "How come you weren't at Daly's?" I said, "Honestly, I didn't know which one, and I was at a bunch." And so he kind of explained to me what dailies were. Anyway, yeah, dailies. But I'll tell you, like when you're a kid from Jersey and you're on the set and they were giving you like free apple juice, and at the time I smoked, so it was like, "Hey, do you want some cigarettes?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, smoke Marlboro Red." They gave me a carton of cigarettes. It was like heaven. It's crazy.
Wow.
I arrived.
Apple juice.
Yeah, that sounds like it would have been right up my alley at that point in time too. I'm not gonna lie.
Right?
Apple juice and Marlboro Reds. Sign me up.
Yeah, and you know what I bought with my paycheck? I bought a Schwinn 10-speed. That's what I bought with all that money I made.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, Charlie. A large part of your career has been voiceover work. Obviously as the Flash, but your very first voiceover was in a Captain Planet cartoon.
No way.
It's funny. I was just at a convention in Virginia, this thing called NecoCon, and someone did ask me. They said, "What was the first thing you did?" And I think you're right. I think your research is correct. I think the first thing I did was that Captain Planet, and it was because I was already doing I think I might have already been doing either a TV show at the time, or maybe they just knew me from a movie or something. But yeah, that was like one of those straight offers. And I think they used to just kind of go out to, celebrities or whatever, people who some people knew. And I guess I was in that category then. And I played Hoggish Greedley Jr., who was Ed Asner's son, just a big pig. And so
were you nervous doing that, going into something like that? It was a totally different aspect to what you were used to.
To be honest with you, Rich, I think I was too young and stupid to ever be nervous about things. I really, like nowadays, if you were to tell me, oh, you're going to do 18 again with George Burns with this, I would probably take a little bit more time to be scared. I think because I was just eager and wanted to do stuff, I went out there and put a lot of that fear aside. So, because I felt ready for it. As far as like the Captain Planet, that was, I kind of feel like that was just me alone in a room. So, because a lot of times, the cartoons we do are basically recorded in a vacuum. They're like this, you just sit there and record, and you do it alone with the director, and you never really have any idea of what it looks like or sounds like until you see the final project. And then I think one of the next things I did, though, was a little bit more nerve-wracking, because I wasn't really like actively auditioning for VO stuff. It's like just new cartoons were being made. And this was like, there was a show that came out as a competition to The Simpsons, because that had been on for like a year and was doing really well. So I think it was ABC who came out with this thing called Fish Police. And it was John Ritter, it was Jo Beth Williams, Jonathan Winters, Hector Elizondo, Tim Curry, Pat Harrington was in it. Who's the girl from oh God, was it Kramer versus Kramer? Jo Beth Williams was in it. Megan Mullally. My memory's pretty good, I have to say. And Frank Welker, who does everything. And anyway, so that was, that was like the first time where we did like a radio play. So you had all these actors at Hanna-Barbera. And what was really cool about it, you would do it on a Sunday, because that was the only day everybody had free. Everybody was really working on so many other things. So, John Ritter was such a beautiful guy, honestly, you just want to hug that guy every time you saw him. And he was so kind, but we had Jonathan Winters on the show, and everyone was such a fan of Jonathan Winters, but Jonathan Winters was a little crazy, and he would just tell like story after story after story. And granted, you have 2 hours to record this show. And so, and like 2 hours later, we haven't recorded anything because Jonathan Winters is still talking craziness, and granted, it's really funny, but it's like, we kind of have a show to do, but no one was old enough to go to him and say, hey, Jonathan, no one had the balls to do that. So
get to work.
But they did have the balls to let him go. Like 3 episodes later, they're like, John, we got to get to work, man. So anyway, and I think it was Frank Welker who was hired to like imitate Jonathan Winters for the rest of the series. I think we only did like 8 or 9 episodes of that thing before they pulled the plug. It was really bad, but it kind of was. It was a little silly, but it was fun in a way.
And the cast is just crazy. I'm looking at it now, and you mentioned a bunch of them, like Phil Hartman.
Oh yeah, Phil Hartman did it. You're right.
Robert Guillaume.
Robert, that's who it was. That's what I was just talking about. Talk about an elegant human being. That when you're in his presence, like, oh wow, this guy is he's the Phantom.
Nice. Straight up. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Buddy Hackett was in this.
Yeah.
Judas
Buddy
Priest.
Hackett was in it. I worked with him after that on he did an episode of Diagnosis Murder, and I remember him telling me about like how he was doing some character in Little Mermaid, and then he was trying to like sell his character to the producers to do a new show, and he had written a song and he started singing me the song, and it was just weird.
That's probably the nicest way to put it too.
Like, because you're like 30-something years old, and you're sitting there looking at a guy that you grew up with, and he's singing like a little fee or whatever the hell he was. You're like, okay, yeah, I'll see who I could talk to, buddy. But he was a sweet guy.
It's just weird, and it's just like there has to be more to the story. You know, people just end with that, and he was weird. I'm like,
no, that's where I got to end it.
Yeah. Like, okay. What was it?
But I've been lucky, man. I've worked with like so many. I don't know what it is about me. Maybe people just think, or since I'm 20, that I'm like this old man inside. But I've worked with so many older guys, from George Burns to Dick Van Dyke, and Red Buttons. Hal Oates was in that thing, and even I got to work with Andy Griffith and Harvey Korman, with Tim Conway. So like,
legends.
I have, yeah, and yes, but that's like honestly, like, well, to me, I'm still like this guy who just grew up loving these guys. And so even like 6 years into being on Diagnosis Murder, I would sit there in a chair like next to Dick Van Dyke, and it would be just strange that I'm in this room with him. Like, how did this happen? And so I understood. I think I went through my whole career so far being really appreciative. And especially, and I just realized this recently, I think one of the greatest things about doing that 18 Again movie with George Burns was that, yes, I was a 21-year-old kid who got to work with this living legend who I grew up with. But more importantly, it was a guy that my parents and my grandparents really loved and respected. So like, that's kind of a gift to my family to say, I'm working with this guy that you love. Not just like some new up and coming guy or whatever that no one's heard of. I'm working with him. And then again, same thing. I remember the day I got to tell my grandfather that I was working with Dick Van Dyke. And he said, Charlie, you're working with a real legend over there. He was like really excited about me working with Dick Van Dyke. So I am. Believe me, I know how fortunate I am.
I mean, I grew up watching 18 Again. That was a staple of my childhood. I watched it ad nauseum as a kid. And I actually remember when Ferris Bueller came out on TV on NBC. And
you're the one.
Yeah, I'm the one guy, exactly. I remember seeing it and saying, hey, that's the kid from 18 Again. I mean, and the thing is, my father had raised me on a lot of older comedies, so I was well aware of who George Burns and Red Buttons were, even as a youngin'. And as fate would have it, I did not know that I was going to be here talking with you, but I just repurchased 18 Again 2 weeks ago and sat down and watched it with my wife. And as I was going through, I was like, holy crap. Like, I'm surprised at what I remember and don't from this movie.
Does it hold up as a movie? Does it still hold up? Or
I think it does, especially because I saw all of the body swap movies that came out in the late 80s as a child. There was about 5 or 6 of them. I remember, and it does hold up insofar as this, I remember having the most fun watching 18 Again. And I think part of that was because you in it were allowed to be the character that George Burns was inhabiting, and you were able to play to that. And there wasn't that sort of like awkward comedy of, oh, I'm going to have to do this for the day as you, and you're going to have to do that. There was actually a heightened sense of drama with your character being trapped.
And I think also, that movie, I think there was a lot of heart in that movie. I mean, not just on the page, because I think it was written really well and there was like just a lot of love, but also like every human being on that set just really loved being there. And it all was because we were all working with George Burns. Even an old pro like Tony Roberts was just beside himself that he was working, with George Burns. They only got, like, I feel so bad Who a guy I love. I love Anthony Stark. He's the actor who played the heavy in that movie. He's Jimmy from the Jimmy episode of Seinfeld, if you don't know who he is. But he had to be the heavy in that movie, and he was just like so hated. And I feel so bad. And because he was just so good at being an asshole. And he was like really the only guy who was the dick in that movie.
The only other thing I knew him from growing up, like off the top of my head, was he played a villain in the live action The Flash with John Wesley Shipp.
Oh, yeah.
He was a bad guy in that too. So he sort of like took on that sort of like Billy Zabka role.
Yeah,
in the back of my head,
unapologetically.
like, yeah, whatever you're in, you're a jerk. I get it.
And it's so funny, like, because listen, I got like a carton of cigarettes for Bright Lights Big City. I was still kind of smoking when I was doing 18 again, and I had to do all that track. And Tony was like this unbelievable athlete. Anthony, I called Tony, and we do the end of the movie where I'm supposed to win, and we had to shoot it like 5 times because he kept winning. I was like, dude, just pull up the brakes this much. I just got to beat you by this much. And he's like, well, you got to pick it up. I can't go any faster. Look at me. My little legs are going as fast as they can. I'm like the Blade Runner guy without the blades. I'm trying so freaking hard.
Just turn it on. You're right there, Charlie.
If that's not an anti-smoking ad right there, it's like, you want to be Anthony Stark, you got to stop smoking.
Right. Put those butts down.
Yeah. I'm Charlie Schlatter, and I'm working with Dare.
Oh my God! Oh, and wait, Brandon, can I tell you something funny? Because you touched on Ferris Bueller. So just this week, I feel terrible. And let me ask, what would you do? You were Ferris Bueller in the TV series, and some kid comes up to you and he sees that you have a picture of Ferris Bueller on your table, and he says, I just heard that you were in Ferris Bueller. That's like my favorite movie of all time. Will you sign this? I probably signed like 3 pictures of things for people thinking I was Matthew Broderick. In fact, somebody recently sent me pictures of like Matthew Broderick with Alan Ruck and the girl who played Mia. What is her? That girl Mia. I don't know her last name. Forgive me, but Mia Sarah. Thank you. And so they sent me 3 pictures in the mail, because I get them at my mailbox. I pick up, and I'm all right. I signed Charlie Schlatter. I was almost going to sign one Matthew Broderick just in case they, I don't know.
I would have totally signed Matthew Broderick.
Right? Yeah. Matthew Schlatter or Charlie Broderick. I could have done a little combo.
I'm definitely Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, but what do you
Best
do?
of luck, Charlie Schlatter.
you feel bad.
But speaking about that, Charlie, at that show, you did work with Cloris Leachman, another comedy legend.
Yeah,
the best.
buddy.
I'll tell you this, man. I'll tell you one funny thing about, well, not funny, but Cloris. When people want to know, like, oh, who's the best actor you ever worked with, actress? Cloris Leachman, hands down, was the best actor, period, I've ever worked with. And I guess I've worked with her 3 times. Once on Ferris Bueller. Once on Diagnosis Murder, and then twice, I believe, on Touched by an Angel. We had scenes together in that. And I will say, and I've accidentally seen her naked twice.
Accidentally, after she was like, Charlie, come in here for a minute.
Pretty much. Pretty much, Brandon.
Phenomenal.
Oh wow.
She's like crazy. She's always been just kind of like this crazy funny nudist. She doesn't care. And so she was playing my grandmother in Ferris Bueller, and they said, cut, bell, and everyone go to lunch. And we had just done a scene. So I went back onto the set like within 60 seconds to get something that I left that I wanted to bring to lunch. And there she is, like standing completely naked. Hi, Charlie. Just changing from her, outfit into her robe for lunch. And then another time we're working in Utah, we're doing Touched by an Angel, and there were like all these bikers. I don't know why, but there were like all these bikers outside of her trailer. We were shooting some weird scene, and she just came out totally naked. Hi guys, and then like walked right back in. So that's twice, and both times was right before lunch.
Oh, outstanding! I love it.
Rob Brooker, everyone.
But she was the best. She was one of those actors that really cared about you in the scene and really wanted you to be your best. And, you know, a lot of times you work with an actor who says, hey, Charlie, can you move to the left so I could really get this going? Or, you know, my light or my this or, you know, no. She would say, hey, Charlie, you know what would be great? Why don't you just look at the baby and focus on that? And she'd give you like a little bit of an acting tip. And every time, I mean, it was just like a brilliant, brilliant tip. And nobody was ever more like emotionally available than Cloris Leachman when it came to working with her. She was so great. And I know people used to like, oh my God, she's trouble on the set, she's this and that. But it's because she was such a perfectionist and so great at what she did. I mean, look at Young Frankenstein. Look at anything that woman has ever been in. And I think she's won like everything, like a Tony, an Oscar, a Grant, whatever. She's one of those people who's just won everything across the board. She's so good. It was so great.
So there was one thing I definitely had to ask is that you are the only person here who's ever in a police academy. So
it doesn't make me a bad person.
I mean,
it just means I made bad choices in life.
Yes, mission to Moscow.
Drew, hold on, pal. Hold on. I just want to back that up for 1 second. Like, he's the only one here that was in a police academy. You say that like every other person that you may have come across has been in a police academy.
Well, you know,
partially right.
Maybe I have, Brandon. You don't know.
You don't know that.
Well, I'll pull back my statement. I apologize.
Drew is in one of the lost episodes.
It
was called Police Academy Bound for Brazil.
You know what? I would be there. I'm just saying. But no,
actually, there was the Police Academy animated show as well.
There was, I think and there was a TV series too, wasn't there?
I think there was actually. Yeah.
I think there was a short-lived series, but yes, this was one of those things where they, you know, here's a funny story about Police Academy Mission to Moscow. So there was another movie, I forgot what it was that I really wanted to do. And I remember I was getting married at the time. I don't know. And so I wanted some money. I wanted like a little extra money to put aside. Because as a young man, you know, you want to be financially set, blah, blah, blah. So I get this offer, like straight up offer. And I won't say exactly how much it was, but let's just say it was $500,000 to go to Moscow and do this movie. And I remember telling my agent, because I was still up for the other one, I go, you know, they need to know now. They need to know now. I said, well, it's because it was way more money than the other one. I said, no, I'm just going to wait on this other thing because I think it's going to happen. And anyway, I don't get the other one. So like a week later, we kind of go back with my tail between my legs, say, hey, I'll do that Police Academy movie. And they're like, not so fast, hotshot. Now it's like 250 that. It's like so I like lost half of it in a week, whatever. What, you know, it's like, oh, all right, I'll do it. So they knew they had me. But that was the worst experience of my life, being in Russia. It was terrible. It was a horrible place, Moscow.
I feel like you're not the first person to say that exact sentence before.
Yeah, it was really, and I don't say that because of the climate these days, but just back then, you know, the KGB had just been dismantled and they sort of became kind of a big mafia there, you know, and it wasn't USSR anymore. And I was there during a pretty historic time when the White House was being overtaken. Rutskoy was held up there and they were being bombed. I have pictures of like me and Ron Perlman, who was also there. We're like holding up rocks outside of like the Kremlin with or outside of the White House rather, with all these old Bolsheviks. And because we didn't know the severity of it. And then all of a sudden, pop, 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 you know, the guns start going, they grab you, put you in the van, and they whisk you off to the hotel where we had to hide for like 2 days.
Wow. Oh my God. And it wasn't Michael Winslow playing.
I'm really regretting holding up those rocks in front of that house.
Yeah, none of that. No, it was the real deal.
All right.
Michael
Winslow started World War III.
I mean, I just
checking. Like, just checking. You were there. History could be wrong.
You're right. You're right. And I could be wrong. Maybe you are right. I don't know.
I just remember reading about it. And then there was this quote from Leonard Maltin, which was saying, and I quote, if the United States and Soviet Union were still at odds, this film would make a great weapon. It could bore people to death. I was like, wow,
That's why you
Harsh.
love Leonard Maltin, man. You know, the original Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, wow. Why did he sugarcoat it so much? He should have told everyone how he really felt.
Don't hold back, man. Don't hold back.
I was just like
You
reading
keep
that.
that
I
in.
was like,
It's gonna just get infected. Come on, Lenny.
It's so funny, man. No matter how many nice reviews you get in life, and you guys, just as human beings, you know, for every 100 good ones you get, you just remember that one that just says you suck. And you're like, and that's the one you agree with. You go, I know I suck. He caught me. He's aware. I fooled 99 others, but that guy knows. It's
he sees
terrible.
me.
Yeah.
What was there one critic that like really broke your heart, Charlie, one day?
No, none of them broke my heart because I really never gave a shit. But like Rex Reed had written a couple nice things about me, so that was nice because he was always like a big popular guy and saying stuff like, "Oh, he's the guy you want your daughter to bring home, and he's such pleasant person." So he always wrote nice things. I think it might have been like a Roger Ebert one that was like, it was weird about Heartbreak Hotel that he felt uncomfortable watching the scenes with Elvis tucking the little girl into bed because of trying to act like Elvis had this reputation of being with young girls. And I guess the Priscilla thing, yeah, right there. But he's tucking in a girl who's like 7 or 8, however old Angela Gaethels was at the time. So I just thought that was really weird. And I think
way to bring your own personal hang-ups to it.
I know, right? It was like someone's projecting a little bit. And then it was something about like Schlatter flashes his toothy grin a little too often, something like that. So, sorry if I was smiling too much in a movie. Yeah.
My bad for showing that my character was happy. That's on me.
Right? Yeah, I should have just...
What a
dick.
Yeah, for real.
But no, for the most part, I got a review once in Ithaca, New York, from a college play I was doing, which was kind of awesome. We did this play Antigone, and I was the page. I had 2 lines in it, and I only speak at the end. I say, cabinet meeting, sir, 5 o'clock, sir. Those are my 2 lines. I'm still off book. And then at the end, I walk up like lonely, alone in this like very tense moment, this dramatic moment of the play. I walk up this like flight of stairs. And they're made of like muslin board or whatever. It's like this kind of papery stuff. Anyway, so as I'm walking up, boom, I kind of tripped. And it was like really loud. And it was like, oh, and you're back. It's kind of like when Joe Biden was walking up those stairs to Air Force One. I kind of was like the original Air Force One slip. That was me. And then the review was, it was something about like, thank God that little page fell because I finally woke up from the slam. Whatever it was like so perfect. But I got reviewed for 2 lines and fucking up my one bit.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ithaca.
Antigone.
Positive or negative? Give me all the energy.
Right?
That's great.
Anyway,
now, I have to ask. Just bringing it back to like working with George Burns again. How much time did you get a chance to spend with him, especially considering when watching it, like you did a pretty good job, especially considering how young you were, of sort of trying to adopt the body language and even cadence of his speech. I mean, I like I said, I watched it recently. And I was impressed.
Thanks. Good, most of that was because before we started shooting, I probably had just two days where I actually spent any amount of time with him. The first was the first day I met him. And that's me walking down this hallway to his office with his manager. And what's awesome is that you could smell the cigar smoke on your way in there. So now all of a sudden, like this guy that you've seen on television, now you smell him, you go like, oh my God, I'm getting closer to the treasure. And, it's like Fred in the Dinosaurus burgers or what, just carrying them away, and that's how it was. You just kind of waft in, and then they open the door and there's little George sitting in his director chair, drinking tea out of a mug that said God. And I thought, this is like the best way to meet this guy. And he said, is that the kid? And they go, yeah, George, this is the kid. He goes, I'll take him. And so that was really nice. And then I think like another time we had lunch at the Hillcrest Country Club where he belonged. And that was really, so I just tried to watch him there. And then, but prior to shooting, I saturated myself with all the old Burns and Allen reruns. I tried to watch all that stuff. I watched Oh God a lot, things like that, anything. And as a kid growing up, Going in Style that was my favorite movie, I think, of all time. And he was just brilliant in that movie. So I did that. And then when I didn't know what George would do, I just kind of relied on like what my grandfather, Charlie Schlatter, would do in that situation, or because he was very similar. My grandfather's a Lower East Side guy, just like George Burns. They came up at the same area. And so, there was this very, this same sort of physicality that they both had. The only thing George taught me, like to say, to do this or to do that, was just, he said, don't hold the cigar in your right hand. I hold it in my left hand. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that, but I thought you were right-handed. And he goes, no, I am. But when he did vaudeville, he just wanted to have that cigar here. So if he had to adjust the microphone, his right hand was always free. And then he always made sure that, he told the people on the set, he goes, the kid has to have a holder for his cigar. And I asked him, why do you do a holder? He says, because no one wants to look at all that spit on the end of your cigar. It's just very neat and clean and whatever. So, and as far as the cigars go, he used to smoke, I think they were Dutch Master Queens, which at that time were like 20 cents a cigar. So he would smoke the cheapest ones possible, because he told me, he goes, people send me Cubans and they send me all this stuff that he just gives away or throws away. And I said, well, why do you smoke those cheap ones? And he said, because they don't burn out. The really good ones, you have to keep lighting and he goes, that's messy. I like to work clean. And so like he'd have one cigar, and he knew that by the time that cigar got to a certain point, it was 20 minutes or whatever it was, and he was out.
Yeah.
It was a little timer.
I think I read somewhere that they said that they estimated he smoked like 300,000 cigars
in a lifetime.
Yeah, like starting at 14, and I'm just like, I was like, maybe I watched like 300,000 hours of TV, but like cigars, like what?
But here's the thing:
it's real easy to smoke and do other things, Drew. I will tell you from personal experience.
Drew, here's the thing: if you watch him, you don't inhale a cigar, and he's never, to him, the putting the cigar in the mouth, that was a punchline. So he would talk, and that was it. I mean, it was really just used as a prop for the most part, So how much he actually smoked in real life, probably not as much as when he did, on stage or his persona. It was really funny though. When we were filming, there was the Whittier quake in Burbank. And I remember my mom had said to him on the set that day, she says, oh my God, Mr. Burns, did you feel that earthquake? And he said, it knocked the ash right off my cigar. And that was like at 6 a.m. So, yeah. Of course I felt it. But and I'll tell you this, Brandon, about George. There were kind of two Georges. There was that one George that was like so just wonderful on the set, and wonderful, like especially with women, and charming, and just like, and that was the same guy you'd get all the time. But there was also like that George Burns who was just like with the guys, which was kind of fun too. When they kind of let loose a little bit. And the first time I ever heard that guy say cocksucker, it's like, oh my God, George Burns just said cocksucker. Anyway, so I don't think I'm giving too much away by that, but I will say, and here's a really fun story too, just really quickly. At the end of that movie, how we walk away kind of into the sunset and the camera pans up and blah, blah, blah. Each time we walked away, he would tell me another story, and he was talking about Gracie a lot. And in one of the scenes, I'm asking him, so, God, you really loved her. She seemed so awesome, and you guys were great together. How did you get over her death? What did you do? And he goes, well, we used to sleep in single beds in the same room, but we had our own beds. And when she passed away, he said, I started sleeping in her bed so I wouldn't have to look at it anymore and be sad. And that just kind of like broke my heart. So anyway, but he was like that, just a little shuffling, and he would just tell little stories, and a lot of them truly heartfelt, not just like stock crap, just really funny and really heartfelt stuff. He was
really
such a great
sweet.
human. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
You got it.
Seriously, that is. Oh man, I'm feeling things, and I don't know if I like it, Leo.
I don't like it.
I know.
Bam, bam, bam.
I know we are running on time, but we definitely want to touch a little bit on your voice acting. So you're looking at close to 140 credits right now, and it's a good mixture of acting and voice acting, and even some video game voiceover work as well. What do you prefer?
Sorry.
Well, no. Tell that dog to sit down. I prefer, to be honest, I probably prefer doing voiceover stuff. The ease of it is so great. And secondly, the people that I work with, and you've interviewed, I'm sure, a lot of voiceover guys, cartoon guys, you'll see just how funny they are and warm they are and genuine. And, a lot of times they're just completely off the wall. What were you saying, Drew?
They're totally hilarious. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, when you're in a room with those guys and you make them laugh, then you're kind of like hitting gold. It's fun. And again, it's really like one of the most supportive communities. And I don't want to just sound like I'm blowing sunshine up their asses, but it's true. There's not a lot of competition, at least, that you feel, because, 5 of us are all, all of us are auditioning for, a talking light bulb one day, and we just hope one of us gets it. And we don't care, because tomorrow someone's going to get the part of the talking stick or the talking toilet, whatever. There's so much content for us to do. And then a lot of times we do just end up working with each other a lot. It's still a pretty incestuous business. So it is kind of like the same people that they recycle. And especially during COVID, I think a lot of people were not willing to take chances on a lot of new people. So it was kind of like, if we're going to be doing this stuff remotely and from home, we need to have an easier, a channel of communication and a way to move things expediently with people that we've worked with before that we know can hit the mark and do the job right away. I always tell, because I teach VO to kids too, and adults. And they're always like, is there room for me? Because it seems so incestuous. And I always say yes, because even though it's like the same 8 people who do every show, there are 2 more chairs at that table. And it seems like we're always looking for those new 2 voices. And, somebody on the spectrum, somebody from another land, we're always just kind of looking to expand that stable of actors, which is really nice. Yeah. Unlike, listen, there's some on-camera stuff I like to do, but it's like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and there's a lot of competition. It's not as friendly, and I don't know. It's a lot of work sometimes for almost the same amount of money. So sometimes I'll get offered like, hey, do you want to do a guest starring role in this thing? And I got to be on the show for 4 days. And sometimes a VO actor, we can make as much just in 4 hours, doing an episode of something. So I don't know. It's not that I've become this guy who doesn't like to leave his house, but I just kind of weigh it out and say, is this I don't know. There's some things I like to do. I did this thing called Shameless a while ago. That was fun. I'm on this show right now.
You were a doctor on that, right?
I was Dr. Dick. Yeah,
I knew it. Okay.
Yeah, which is so funny because like
William H. Mason.
Yeah, and I didn't know the show really, except so I start watching the show. So they go, oh, they want you to come in for this Shameless thing. I go, okay. So I watch Shameless. I'm watching the first few episodes, and it's really like it's nothing but like full frontal male nudity. I'm like, there's a lot of dick in this show, and so I tell my and I got daughters and a son, and. Anyway, and we're not nudists in the Schlatter house. We're pretty conservative here. And so I asked my agent, I said, well, what's the part they want me to do? And she said, it's Dr. Dick. And I go, well, right there, they're going to want me to do you take out the dick. And she goes, well, no, just read it. Anyway, so there was no dick. But I was a little nervous about that because nowadays it's like everything you read is that. It's like, and I feel bad for young actors today too. I mean, you see stuff that's out there, Euphoria and stuff like, it's just really, it's pretty hardcore. And I don't know, maybe people are more comfortable with that these days, or maybe they're just more willing to do anything for $1 these days.
Well, I think part of it is there's sort of an interest, it seems, more in regards to the characters being a certain way in a lot of shows. And I feel like the more seemingly irredeemable characters appear to be, the more intriguing they've become to the zeitgeist now.
Yeah.
I keep waiting for that bubble to burst personally.
Yeah.
Because I prefer full arcs for a character, and if they're not redeemable, then I feel like I'm wasting my time.
Well, it is amazing how we. Yeah, no, Shameless is a perfect example of that, and so is and I think it started. I don't know if it started with, but it was definitely enhanced with Breaking Bad. I mean, that was a character that we all loved and rooted for, and he was a horrible human being. And you walked away from that thinking, oh my God, Ozark, same thing. It's we're rooting for Jason Bateman and he's killed people and you know what I mean? But we still root for them.
Even in our comedies, we've been seeing that as well. I mean, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on FX has been going for a while now. And I watched it for a few seasons and it literally got to the point where I turned to my wife, this was like one of the conversations that we had that got me to convince her to go out on a date with me, was talking about that show. And we got to season 4 or something on that. And I was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
You find yourself rooting for the wrong people and for the wrong reasons. So
exactly. And then you know what? I shouldn't have to shower when I finish watching something like this. But that's let's be real. Inexplicably, that's going to happen. So no more of that.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's why I like cartoons.
So speaking of cartoons, I just want to let you know something funny that happened because we tried getting you on the show an earlier time, but unfortunately there was a scheduling conflict.
Yeah.
What we did was we had snippets from your episode in Superman the Animated Series where you were the Flash. And originally the plan was you would have read the Flash and we would have just filled in all the other voices. So we just kept reading the script, doing different voices. Leo will have to send you the link of that because it's just all 4 of us just reading and just doing it well. And literally at one point I was like, okay, so you're going to do Superman and you do a voice. You're going to do Lois and Jimmy and you're going to do and we just and I had spent a nice chunk of the day watching the episode, listening to you talk and typing it up because I couldn't find it.
Right. Oh, that would have been awesome.
With the line, it's what's the weather wizard saying? Is this important? No, fuck that. Moving on.
Well, I have to say this, Drew. I should probably rewatch some Flash stuff because it's so as a cartoon guy, we do our gig and then we just go home and we're not off book, so we haven't memorized anything. We go in there and we just read what they want us to say and then we go home. So now I go to a convention and someone says, I really love the Flash. Can you do the voice for me? And I'm like, I've been doing it for the past 2 minutes talking to you. There's nothing.
Hear me speak?
Yeah, I know. So I should probably write down some key things or some, whatever I said. I don't know. So I could do that for them because I feel like I'm totally letting people down. And then they'll pick another character. Can you do that one? I'll go, yeah, that one surprisingly is going to sound a lot like the Flash.
Right.
Or even a Robin, which I do, he's kind of like a Michael J. Fox guy, is younger, whatever. But I should probably start writing down some things to say to these kids. I don't know. I suck.
It's not a bad idea. You don't.
No affect on your voice at all, Charlie, for the Flash. And the reason I asked that because I was going to ask, since you've played him 20 some odd different times, has the Flash voice changed in different cartoons?
No, for me, because that's the thing. Like I do it, I just kind of do it my way. What I think is just kind of like, this snarky guy he's just a dick, but he's not a dick. He's just, he's a cocky bastard. And that's how I play him. And that's how I feel like he's written. And I just try to keep it in my register, but I try to do things a little faster and blah, blah, blah. And, okay, catch you later. He's just, that guy. And again, there's like 5 other guys who do the Flash also. So like, tomorrow, I'm sure someone at some studio is going to say, hey, I want to do another intonation of the Flash and the Justice League or whatever. And then they start casting, and someone may say, oh, well, I like how, I think maybe Phil Lamar had done it, or Josh Keaton or whoever, they may say, let's get that guy. Or maybe they say me. Sometimes it's a monkey throwing a dart. Who knows? It's whoever wants to get it that day. It truly is. Or a lot of times they'll say, I want somebody new. I mean, even look at the Joker. How many we've had, between Kevin Michael Richardson and Mark Hamill, or what, there've been several different Jokers. Even in those Lego movies, we had a different guy playing the Joker. So it always depends on. I think the studio really wants to give a little leeway to the director, or they want to give them the reins a bit, because it has to be interesting to them too, to do that project. And I know if someone said to me, I want you to direct a Marvel show or whatever, I think I'd want to, listen to people again, and maybe bring in my own guy or bring in a new vibe, and they're all, like I said, there's all these different intonations. I did a show called Lunatics Unleashed, and I was Ace Bunny, which is basically, it's Bugs Bunny, but he's extreme. And I mean, they could have easily gotten, Billy West to do it, because he's done, Bugs Bunny forever, and that would have been a no-brainer. But they kind of went out of their circle, and they pulled me in for that. So it's always interesting. Casting is an interesting thing, and sometimes it's you're their friend, or that other guy is their friend and you're not. So you never know. I feel fortunate. I think I'm like in the most different versions of it, of the Flash. I don't think I'm the most recorded, because I think there have been other series that have like gone on forever, but I think I've done like more intonations or whatever of the Flash, including like I do Flash on Scooby-Doo and things like that. So just is what it is. But yeah, it's nice every now and then I get that call, hey, you're playing the Flash in another thing, and I go, okay, I like this guy.
More work. Yes.
Well, if you want, we can have Leo send you both a recording of us reading it, because I'm sure you'd find that really funny.
Do that. Do that, and I'll try to send you back like a new version of me recording the Flash. How's that?
Nice. Oh, Charlie, if you did that, it would be like Christmas, Easter, and their birthdays all rolled up into one.
Send that to me, and I will. At some point, I'll get to it, and I will record those lines right here on this microphone, and I'll send you like as an MP3. Would that work? And then you could just lift it and put it in, or as a WAV file, whatever you want.
Okay. I actually chopped it up in TikTok to 4 different videos, so I could just send those to Leo, and Leo can send those to you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And if you want, and Charlie, if you want, we can even send you the Word document I typed up, so you have the lines.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. That would be perfect. I'll do that. Yeah.
That would be amazing.
I can't guarantee it's going to sound like the Flash, though.
That's okay.
It doesn't matter.
It may sound like
Charlie
else.
Schlatter doing the Flash. Damn it!
Yeah.
But
it may sound like the Honey Nut Bee.
Like,
you
it's
never
just funny
know.
Hey, who doesn't like Honey Nut Cheerios? And if they disagree, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
That's my gig. I was the Honey Nut Bee for like 15 years.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
wow.
I was the Be Happy, Be Healthy.
Because it's like my favorite cereal.
You know what? I'm not the guy now, because they it's funny. I did it in fact, I replaced Billy West used to do it for a couple of years, and then I came in and we started doing all these video games and like internet content and commercials. It got to the point where like they flew me out. There was a commercial we did with Usher, and they flew me out to Atlanta, like to be on set with him, just so I could improvise as a bug. And same thing with Nelly. I did a thing with Nelly, another band called Naturally 7. They like were flying me out to like just be the bug. Anyway, so it was Saatchi and it's General Mills. General Mills fires like 700 people, and they say, we're going to let you go too, Charlie, because we can't afford to pay your contract. And they said, we would love for you to continue this process with us if you would agree to work non-union. So, I had to say no, F you very much, and goodbye. So, and that's it. And then the bee went silent for a while. And then now I don't know what that is that you hear on TV. I don't know what that bee is supposed to be. And I'm not saying that because I'm bitter, because I'm not. I don't care. Like so many of my friends were calling saying, "Hey, Charlie, I got an audition for this bee. Aren't you the bee?" And I go, "Yeah, but it's okay. It's all non-union now, so take it. It's yours."
It's all non-union, sucker.
Yeah,
Enjoy yourself.
No, it is, because they're going to get somebody. It might as well be, like I said, when I say the no competition or that feeling of it, it's like, no, you want someone you like to get it, and pass on the good fortune. Just pay it forward. So
and Barry
anyway,
Gordon was the bee for a while too, and he was also the I think he was the president of SAG for a while.
He was the president of SAG,
also,
but I didn't. Hey, how are you, Justin? I had no idea that Barry Gordon was the bee ever. That's really interesting.
Yeah, he told me he was the Cheerio kid or something to start out with. Yeah,
because I love that guy. Well, as a child actor, also the guy was amazing. 1,000 Clowns with Jason Robards. I mean, he was just a great child actor and a great adult actor as well.
I didn't know he got his law degree too, but this is
No one
Welcome
likes to
back
show
to the
off.
Barry Gordon show, everyone.
Well,
Hey, we're here with Barry Gordon.
And,
We're here with Barry West.
Sure.
Speaking of show, Charlie, that's the hour, so we don't want you to get in trouble with your
Oh,
family.
okay.
You can.
I'm going to go watch Bachelor in Paradise. Yeah.
Is there any new projects that you're promoting right now?
Listen. I don't promote anything because I don't care. I don't get I don't get anything from promoting Jack. But I'll tell you some crap that I'm in right now. It's not really crap. There's good stuff actually, and I don't always get to say that. There's a really great cartoon I'm doing that's airing now on Apple Plus TV, and that's called Harriet the Spy, based on the books from years ago. Jane Lynch, Beanie Feldstein, Lacey Charvet, Charlie Schlatter, the big guns. It's a great show directed by Charlie Adler, and it's a Jim Henson production. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had Charlie Adler on your show, but you should. He's the funniest. He's Cow and Chicken, or is that what Cow and Chicken? Yeah, it was Cow and Chicken.
Cow and Chicken.
Cat Dog? Something like that. Anyway, so there's that. And then I'm on a show that was just nominated for an Emmy a couple days ago. It's called Big Nate, and it is on Nickelodeon. So for a while, it was streaming on Paramount Plus, and it was the #1 streaming show, period, beating like that 1800 show, whatever. It was beating everything. So because only 10 people have Paramount Plus, and we had 9 of them. Yeah, I was gonna say Brandon you were all over, you and Justin. You two.
They said Star Trek, so
yeah, totally. And isn't Yellowstone on that? Or
no? So with Big Nate,
that's on Peacock.
Big Nate is now, they just went full blast on a Nickelodeon. Like I said, we just got nominated for a couple of Emmys. I think one is Best Casting. And I play a little redheaded boy named Chad, and it's probably to date. In fact, I just got done recording that earlier today. It's probably one of my most favorite characters to ever record. He's such an oddly weird little boy, and I love it. But we're recording our 2nd season right now, even though we only have like 8 or 9 episodes on the air, and they just picked us up for a 3rd season. So I think you'll be seeing a lot of it. If Nickelodeon is doing that, they obviously believe in it. And then I have one more show that I'm recording now, which is. It's just it's going to be a money machine. It's Mattel is doing this for Netflix, and it's Hot Wheels Ultimate Racers, and it's nothing but selling cars and kid stuff. It's really clever, and yeah, it's fun. And there's like 5 of us. There's like 2 actual children and then 3 adults who play the children. I'm one of those. I always play children, and it's. I think it's going to be really good because it's really well done.
Okay,
that's awesome.
That's what I got going on.
Check that out. Thank you.
It should be fun.
You were a super gracious guest, Charlie. I mean, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, man. Anytime. You guys are freaking awesome. Anytime I get to hang out with East Coast dudes and just get to tear it up a little bit, I'm down. So, and hopefully I'll see you at the next con. I know you guys were at Rhode Island Con, right? That's a big one. Yeah, that looked. I didn't go there, but that looked like a lot of fun. So hopefully I'll do that one someday.
You know what you need to start doing is since you're the honeybee, maybe if they can group like all the serial voice actors, get like you, Larry Kenny,
yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Awesome panels too, yeah,
right.
The serial killer panel,
kids. The serial killers, yeah.
We'll get green Jello,
that one's for free, Charlie.
Here's a really sad story. So General Mills, the same company that fired me, they asked me to come in and audition for their new Leprechaun for the Lucky Charms, whatever, because they fired that guy, whatever. And then they go, but we don't want an Irish accent. It's like he's a freaking leprechaun. How do you do a I mean, because they're afraid they're going to offend people with an Irish accent.
Listen, if we can have French actor Christopher Lambert play a Scottish Highlander in a movie,
there you go.
80s, I guess we can have somebody from Jersey doing the voice
and somebody my size too. I'm elfin. Listen, I'm like the shape of an elf anyway. So
Charlie, I'm a small guy too. You should see me standing next to these fellows. All right, like it's ridiculous. My wife is 5'1", and when I'm in my house, I feel like a dwarf amongst midgets. Okay, and then I step into public around these clowns, and I'm like, oh no, wait, I am a very small man.
You're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have left the house.
Yeah, Charlie, he's like the T-Rex being all big, and then he meets the other dinosaurs. Like, okay, I'm gonna stay here in this area. I'm staying in Jurassic Park. I'm not going to Jurassic World.
I'm gonna stay in my lane. Yeah.
Stay this lane.
All right. Well, you guys are awesome, man. And thanks, honestly, for inviting me to this show. This has been a really fun time.
Yeah, totally. We love having you. You're welcome back anytime.
And we're going to send you that stuff.
Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Yeah, send me that thing, Drew. Honestly, you guys all have my email and all my contacts and stuff. So, yeah.
Leo will send it to you. Trust me.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right. It'll be awesome.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right. Much love, guys, and peace.
Great night.
Have a good night, Charlie. Thank you.
Okay,
I didn't hold on. I didn't get a chance to bring it up when Charlie was on here because I didn't want to like jump into. But Drew, his love interest in 18 again was played by Jennifer Runyon.
No fucking way.
Yeah, I didn't want to. Yeah, you're wearing a fucking Stay Puft shirt and everything, and I really wanted to jump in and be like,
"I'm sorry."
How was it working with Jennifer Runyon as your love interest in the movie? Because if I had said it, I know you'd have been like, "Excuse me, Jennifer."
I'm sorry, yeah. Did you say?
I'm sorry.
Jennifer?
Do you mean female student from the beginning of Ghostbusters?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I've been like.
Pair of wavy lines.
That is literally her character's credit name in Ghostbusters. Is female student.
Yep.
That's
it's so funny because in the comics
book,
she shows up more often, and I'm just like, good for you. Like,
it's actually super.
Where her and the other student, the guy who kept getting shocked, are having like tea, and I'm just like, they remain friends.
Well, I got the biggest kick out of in the comic book in Ghostbusters from IDW, how
amazing
she took everything Venkman said to heart about her having some kind of ESP abilities. Yep. And opened up a fucking fortune teller's shop.
Right.
I lost it when I flipped the page. I was like, "You've got to be fucking kidding me!"
Yeah, it was really funny.
It's pretty cool that they were able to get so many different people's likenesses.
Oh my god, the entire series, and I was so sad when I feel like it's kind of come to an end when because now Dark Horse is doing the Ghostbusters comics, and I think they're trying to follow the. I don't know. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with it. I know that they were going to release a book that ties in more to Afterlife, which I'm still fine with. But Dan Showing and Eric Burnham, they've been on my I'm sorry. If they ever at a convention, I will be there and I will be that guy with, can you please sign these? And I will have everything they've worked on. Just nope. I don't care.
Well, they did the Turtles crossover.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
Basically, anything that was the Ghostbusters for IDW was Eric Burnham and Dan Showing. So all
if I can meet Eric Burnham, forget about it. Like that dude, he was everything I read from him at IDW with Ghostbusters, I never realized how much I wanted a continuation of Ghostbusters until I started reading those comics, and because he was so spot on.
Brandon, you don't understand. I found out the one year I don't go to NYCC, and not because of COVID or sickness. The year I chose not to go. He's at NYCC. Someone got their book signed, and I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" I was like, I was just like,
I was so frustrated for so long because I'm like, why aren't they having this guy like work on a script for Ghostbusters? He clearly understood the world and the characters like nobody before him. It was.
And he made the multiverse work. I mean, this guy literally.
Oh my god, so well.
He did, and when I think about it, he handled all the properties so well. TMNT, so with the Shellhead over here can back me up on. Transformers. They even did a crossover with Mars Attacks at one point, and that was the real Ghostbusters. Yeah. I mean, listen.
I read it all, man. I know.
yeah. So my point being is, we can talk about that another time.
Did they?
But I will say this, Justin, you were totally missed at Rhode Island because I had such questions to ask Rob Paulson about the Turtles that I was like, Justin would have been so proud if I could have made this happen.
Yeah, I had questions I wanted to ask Rob Paulson too, but I barely got a fucking word in edgewise because Rob Paulson was wearing a Detroit Red Wings cap and a Detroit Red Wings lanyard. Mm-hmm. And my wife, Dara, is a giant being a relative term here because she is super tiny.
Giant in spirit.
Detroit Red Wings fan. And so when we walked up, like he's like, "Oh, hey, so you grabbed the Yakko one. Let me sign that for you." And Dara's just like, "Are you from Michigan?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's why I got my Detroit hat and she's like, "I love the Detroit Red Wings." And he's just like, "Really? So are you from?" And she's like, "No, I'm from around here." He goes, "That's got to be tough with all the Bruins fans and everything around here, huh? I always wanted to be a hockey player." And then he starts talking about how he wanted to be a Detroit Red Wing growing up and how eventually like voicing Ninja Turtles allowed him to play with Gordie Howe as like a charity thing. Like he was like, and there I was in the middle of a frozen area, and I'm playing hockey with Gordie Howe. And I was like, "Thanks, Mr. Paulson, for taking the photo with us and signing this autograph. I guess we better move along now because there are other people in line. I hope you enjoyed your conversation about hockey."
Did the Whalers come up at all?
I will say, no, he was absolutely delighted that somebody came up to him. Swear to God, somebody came up to him and wanted to talk to him about something other than any of the voice projects he's done. You could tell it was like very refreshing for him to just talk about hockey, something he loved. He's like, "Yeah."
But Justin, speaking about Rob Paulson, right next to him was the amazing Maurice LaMarche. And
This is Maurice LaMarche, voice of the brain from Pinky and the Brain, and Morbo the newscaster from Futurama. And you are on Splash Pages. Good night.
And when Drew was interviewing him, I thought he was going to cry twice.
2 times.
Drew was going to cry twice because he did his Egon, right?
Absolutely.
I asked him when I met him. I asked him to help me with my Egon. He's like, it comes from back here in the throat. I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool."
He did it in he did it in the other bumper, right?
Yeah, he did. The way he flips it on is crazy.
Bumper. It's so crazy.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry again.
Well, while that loads,
where lubricated
What's
with
happening?
nerd
Jason
tea.
Marsden here. One more time. Hey, Jason Marsden here. I'm the voice of Thackeray Binks in Hocus Pocus and Virgins. You're watching. I forgot what it was. The Dorkening. One more time. Hey, Jason Marsden here, voice of Thackeray Binks in Hocus Pocus Virgins. You're watching The Dorkening.
Yeah, he was great.
He's a delight.
He looked like
Maurice LaMarche, Dr. Egon Spengler from The Real Ghostbusters. the Brain from Pinky and the Brain, Lieutenant Kif Croker from Futurama, and you're on the Dorkening.
Isn't that great?
All I see is just my arm in the whole thing. I see this wonderful talent, and I just see this giant meat hook just holding the goddamn.
Love, look out. I have a very sexy learning disability.
What's happening? Jason Marsden here, voice of
Justin-
Max Goof in a Goofy movie. And you're watching Splash Pages.
Oh, my golly. Oh, hi. I'm John from Smallville. I'm on Splash Pages.
I love that.
So good. So good. I'm like, that's the Riddler from Batman the Animated Series, guys.
Yeah.
Is that not
That's Dr.
Logan?
Woodrow from Batman and Robin.
Never gonna forget
Yeah.
John Glover.
No. Let's just. I want to set the record straight here.
Easy.
The Riddler totally was crushing on Rich. That's all I'm gonna say. Like John.
Dara and I were selected as couple of the week when we met him.
Oh, nice.
He even signed a photo with that. We went back to the photo after he said, he was like, I'm gonna write that on hold on. And put it right there on the photo.
Did he say Shazam? That's
He's an amazing personality.
He was delightful. He really was.
There were so many highlights that I think I couldn't stop telling them to Leo. And Leo does this thing I don't think you guys realize. When he's just listening, like, I don't think he's genuinely listening, but he has like catchphrases. It's just like, oh, nice, cool, great. Like, he just like, oh, wow, that's great. And I feel like I'm making him sound a little Owen Wilson-y, but like he's listening, but he's just like, wow, that's great. Like, oh wow. Yeah, he's oh, that's great. That's cool. Like, it's almost like I'm letting you talk, so eventually you'll peter out. You know,
no, he's just waiting for his turn to talk. That's all. He's like, listen, I work with all these mouthy assholes. I know they'll lose steam eventually.
But I will say this: if you guys have ever rid with Leo, he is a very responsible driver. So, you know, some people, madman, Leo is a responsible driver. We only got an accident almost twice, so it was fine. You know,
he's got to maneuver around all those mass holes.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm the type of guy when I show up, I'm like, good news, everyone. I just saved 15% or more on my car insurance by fleeing the scene of the accident.
I'm sorry.
So you're the one that did the hit and run on me.
I mean, no.
Wink.
When you said that, I just heard the professor. Good news, everybody. I'm just like,
good news, everyone. The hard part was getting the brain out, but the easy part was getting the brain out.
All right, someone needs to put Brandon on a timeout. But
so
not my fault that they made caffeine legal.
I know we want to talk about a couple of different what ifs. I just want to cover some news real quick. And Drew, I don't know if you have anything, but
no, I have a bunch, because you were all like, "Hey, everybody, I spent literally 30 minutes in the con, and I might have caught con crud. Can you do the heavy lifting?" I'm like, Leo, you.
Hey, that shit's no fucking joke, bro.
I'm not joking about it. The first time
I caught con crud when I was walking around with you guys. The fucking day and a half after being there, I was like, "Bury me at Wounded Knee."
Maybe you should have worn a mask. Maybe you should have worn a mask.
I mean, I could have worn a mask, but it wasn't COVID that I got. It was some asshole went to Terrificon and was like, "I don't feel too great, but you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and go." And then they saw my ass and they shook my hand and they breathed in my face. So fuck them. That's my point.
What interviews were you doing where someone almost licked you? Like, what the hell? Like, no, some John Barrowman.
You weren't with me the whole time.
And listen, nobody was more surprised. I think literally being in the Deadpool suit, I sweated out any sickness, because that just, I was like it was just, that was my detox suit. Just put it on.
You were protected by Fabian Nicieza touching your tummy.
The tummy rub, man.
It was really funny after the interview with Fabian Nicieza, because Drew was like, "Wow, he seems to like really zero in on you, Brandon." I was like, "Yeah." And I thought about it later. I'm like, I'm the only one of the three of us that didn't have his fucking face covered. So he actually could see me as a human being.
Yep, totally.
Drew, God love him, wore that fucking thing the whole time. I lost 2 pounds looking at him.
Yeah.
So that's your secret.
Fabian kept asking me, he's like, how much do you weigh now? And I said, too little.
I do have to say, I didn't realize I looked like I was going to die. When I was talking to Chris and he said goodbye, it was like really like remorseful. Like, what the fuck was that? But I didn't realize he actually thought I was going to drop dead or something. Dude, Brandon, I was in a world of hurt when we ran up with you upstairs. I was like, I didn't drink any water the entire day.
Oh, well, what the fuck?
Yeah,
dude?
I know. It's yeah, and walking a lot more than I'm used to.
You offered me a drink when you picked me up, but then suddenly you couldn't take one of your hospitality will kill you. God.
See, that's why I always sneak in bottles of water in the bottom of my backpack when I go to conventions. Like I have a little compartment at the very bottom that fits a couple of 16-ounce bottles, and they never check it for some reason.
That's what we did when I got breakfast for me and Rich. So just Cinnamon Toast Crunch and milk from CVS. We just snuck it in the backpack. They were just like, "Oh, let's open the backpack." It just came here. Okay, cool, good. I was like, "You don't even think to look in there, do you?" Then you would notice, "Sir, why is your camera equipment? Why is it crunchy?" I'm like, "It's expensive."
It's state of the art from Japan. Now leave me alone.
Why does it smell like cinnamon? Excuse me, it's called an air freshener. Have you seen nerds? Some of them don't know what deodorant is.
It's a new scratch and sniff lens.
But no, like I said, this is the second time I ever went to Rhode Island. It was far better. I mean, the first time I went to Rhode Island, I got to meet all the Hellboy cast and Frank Welker. So that was awesome. On a degree that's very different. This was different because I got to meet heroes. It is on record me gushing. I got to watch a Gotham rogue spank Rich. I got to finally have dinner with Leo, which it's like dinner with Andre, but funnier.
Yeah, because I was drunk off.
Inconceivable.
I was drunk off my ass and still in the beans.
I got to see tipsy, almost pretty much drunk Leo. I got to meet.
I've seen that too, but sure.
Yeah, I got to meet Brandon's wife, and I was like, "Wow, you're real." I mean, that's
I know. She exists, everybody. I told you.
And
actually, Brandon's seen me stoned out of my mind. Holy shit!
Yeah, it was something to behold because it was on air.
This is the oddest nerd podcast.
Dude, Leo's like, "All right, man, I'm gonna go live now." Leo, we've been live for 7 minutes.
Justin, you have to be here when we finally do this. I've been talking about this for a while. I want to have a night where we review One More Day, the Spider-Man arc, but we're all drinking, so it's one more drink. So
I still have those issues.
I just want to get smashed just reading this and just laughing about how absurdly awful it is, even though good things came out of it. I was like, yes, like so many comic book sequels. We were promised we'll go back to the original. I'm like, nope, we're just going to keep taking a dump.
Can we not do that on a school night? Because
I need
to function the next day, dude. I
dispatch around the time of Terrificon next year.
I dispatch for drivers for a big company, and if they call me up and I've been doing that the night before, like, "Hey, Brand, I'm having problems with the customers. You gotta have them open this gate." Like, yeah, you fucking gotta have them open this gate.
We'll do that on Friday.
What was that, Brandon? Oh shit, I'm sorry, man. I thought my mic, I thought it was on mute. So, wait, do you say this shit on mute?
Drew, don't forget you got an exclusive at a Rick Leonardi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like Rick Leonardi, the artist behind 2099, he was just like, "Oh yeah, I got this news about 2099 in the Spider-Verse. Do you want to hear it?" I'm like, if I feel like saying no is very dumb, so I'm gonna go with
yes. It would have been. So you said yes, right?
I totally said he just reads it there, like he pulls it up on his phone, nonchalant, like we would a text message. He's just like. He's just reading it from his phone, like an official Sony email. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, is this what it feels like to be a part of something big? Is this what?
FYI,
I'm
that's on youtube.com/splashpages.
Yeah, true story. And it was just one of those where I'm just sitting there and I'm just thinking, it's a good day. It's a good.
See, I would have screwed it up. I'd be like, no, I want to hear about the time Daredevil fought a vacuum.
Yeah, tell me about that instead.
No.
Be like, so glad you asked.
He did love to talk because I brought up the Hellboy Painkiller Jane crossover, and he was like, I think you're one of the few people who ever brought that up. And I was like, come on, they defeat the baddie by playing a Chumbawamba song. Please, it's genius.
That was a good character too.
Yeah, it was. It was all Jimmy Palmiotti. But no, it was honestly, I got to say, guys, that was definitely one of the best cons that I've been to this week. Not this week, this year.
Okay, how many fucking cons did you go to?
Oh, not
this week.
This week. Time travel's a bitch. But no, it was just so much fun.
Drew a Doctor Who?
I have been. Justin, I need to talk to you about the time I was Dr. Pooh.
Okay.
That's a great story there, but we'll get there later. But it was just, I have to say this, it was really great. You're spending time with Rich and Leo again.
Yeah, no, you're right. That was bad on me, Leo. He's
Sorry, I meant to do this one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A rim shot about a proctologist.
I'm just looking forward to the one con I get to hang with Justin, who I still feel is one day he's gonna quado it, but it's gonna be Krang. I was like, I was here all along. Bring me those tattoos.
That's right. I'm many characters from Total Recall.
Jeez.
Just open your mind.
I gotta tell you, I know Justin goes around just talking in voices all the time. We've talked about this. I do the same thing, and I was doing it earlier today while I was trying to get stuff together, like real quick. I was looking for this hat actually in particular, and I'm looking through the bag because I still had 13 hats that I brought with me to the Comic-Con together in a bag, and that's not an exaggeration. 13 hats, and I'm looking for this one, and I'm just pulling them out systematically, but going rather quickly. I'm not paying attention to myself. I'm going. I'm doing that, and my wife is just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "Huh? What? Oh, you know what? That's the voice of the little caveman duck from DuckTales, and I have no idea why I started speaking in that voice at all, whatsoever. So I'm sorry, but if you'll excuse me." I just started going right back.
Would you like to hear his theme song?
She was just serious. She sat there and watched me for a full minute before she even said anything. She was just, I married this fucking fool. Really reevaluating life choices.
But I guess just concluding my point, and that was fantastic, Brandon. I'm like, why am I not on your show more often? Because I also just occasionally catch myself doing voices. Like my favorite is when I'm trying something that fits, I just jump into my Zap Brannigan. I'm like, it still fits even after eating that fattening hobo cuisine.
Nothing like the feel of velour.
Oh my god! And I will say this: I cannot
made it with a woman.
Inform the men. I cannot wait till the Maurice interview is, because we talked about Futurama, and the fact that he'll just go Morbo, hedonism bot, Kiff. It is too fucking funny.
He's just great.
But I met him the week that the Love, Death, and Robots came out, and he narrated that whole yogurt one. Like that was the week that I met him, and I'm just like, mwah.
Listen, I'm so glad Rich was there, because he could laugh at me. He was like, Drew, you were just all sorts of emotion. You were happy, you were ecstatic, you were just so over the moon, and it's like you were gonna cry. I'm like, I was gonna cry twice. Wow. Okay, 2 times. Because he started talking about Harold Ramis, And that legacy, and he was telling stories about it. I was like, oh my fucking God. He has the thing he says. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. It was probably the sweetest compliment to Harold I think I've ever heard. And it just, oh, fuck. I'm good. Give me a second.
How do you do Egon's voice?
Gave him a comic
first,
book.
I start by doing an impression of Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, but even like he was magnificent. Bill Farmer was magnificent.
Wow.
The voice of Sylvester, Tweety, the
Goofy.
And then Jason Marsden, who at first I looked really quick because I didn't know who it was. I just kind of looked and I saw a J and Marsden, so I said, "Oh, hi, James," and he's like, "Oh, I'm Jason."
Oh my
I was
God.
like, So like 5 minutes later, I'm sitting here asking him for an interview, and he makes the joke. He goes, "Oh, you guys are looking for James, though. You're not looking for Jason." And I'm like, "Oh,
jive ass
got a
turkeys."
good sense of humor. I like this guy.
He's got great energy too. Like just watching all that stuff. It's
oh my God.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the day after we did the interview, we're just waiting because we're getting the bumpers because I forgot, or correction, someone forgot to say we got to get those.
Yeah, we both forgot.
And he just walks by and he's like, "Oh, hey guys," and I'm just like, "Us? Us?
Yeah.
We are but weebs. We are but weebs, my lord. You are a great. You dare say hello to us? We are blessed."
I was like, it's Snapper Carr from the Justice League cartoon.
That's kind of when I went up to him, he was like, "So which one do you want signed?" And I pointed to the Eddie Munster photo on his table, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the Munsters." I was like, "Yeah, no, that one." He was like, "Really? Like, you really want me to sign this?" I was like, "Yes, man, really. That's the first thing I knew you from as a kid. I used to watch the new Munsters every Sunday before I went to church." And he was like, "Oh, okay." It must have been the only copy of that photo on the table.
Oh, wow. Right.
And he pulled it off. And I was like,
even
I'm surprised
Butch Patrick didn't want one.
I actually said to him, like, I met Butch Patrick at another convention a few years ago, and I was like, he's not Jason.
What was
Marsden.
it?
It's okay.
And then I what I also loved is that two different people complimented me on how much research I did. It was Connor Leslie, who was on the Turtles. She was like, "Wow, you did your homework," and I'm like asking her whatever and stuff. And me and Rich can both say she was probably the prettiest. No disrespect to Maya Burton, of the interviews we did. She was gorgeous. Connor Leslie.
She is stunning. And
did she put the Thor helmet on?
Maya Bruton, let me tell you, I think I started a campaign to get her in the next Thor movie just with my questions. I think
Hi everyone, I'm Maya Bruton. I played Sarah Anderson in Adventures of Babysitting, and you're on Splash Pages.
Hey, cool, Leo. Give a heads up, bro. Drew's still in the middle of talking.
Yeah.
That's Shelley.
Hi, I'm Bill Farmer.
Leo,
you might know me as the voice behind Goofy, Pluto, Horace Horsecollar, Sylvester the Cat, Yosemite Sam, and a lot of others. And you are on Splash Pages.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, that rabbit.
Thank you, Leo.
Anything else?
Five more you want to play?
We got a few
We're not
more
the cool edited one, Leo. Just the raw footage. Thanks, Leo.
Yeah,
I didn't work on hours editing those in TikTok. Thanks.
Yeah, we can
tell. Wait, what? What do I do now?
Never mind.
I'm just
I'll yell at
grabbing
you
the...
later.
Okay.
Yeah, I was yelling at you because you were using the raw footage versus the edited footage that I went and developed in TikTok and dropped.
Keep doing it, Leo.
12
Keep
bumpers
doing
in
it.
the last 2 days. It's gotten over 5,000 views for Splash Pages and the Dorkening. God damn it!
That is exciting. I wanted to ask you, Drew, about this because you said this was your favorite interview. The last one we were just talking about.
Connor Leslie.
Well, Connor Leslie was one of my favorites, and then the other one was Mitchell Whitfield, who, first thing, what a nice guy. I mean, so pleasant and very enthusiastic. But he loved, we asked him, of course, about my cousin Vinny, which apparently I won huge points because I said his character's name correctly. It's Rothenstein, not Rothenstein. He was like,
how do you say Stan wrong? I don't.
Yeah. But we also talked because he did Justin, and I thought of you. He was the voice of Donatello in the 2007 Turtles movie.
Yep.
So, we were asking about that. I also know he did a character in Transformers. And we're just asking all these things. And he had this really great story about how, because he was a character in Sergeant Bilko, which Steve Martin was in. And he was like, yeah, I don't remember, but he talked about how he got to work with Phil Hartman, working with him. And I was just like, the fact that our guest here, Charlie, also talked about Phil. I was just like, these links. Honestly, it was a great convention. Personally, I really learned a lot. I think Rich, out of all people, knows now that handlers are a trigger for me, because I don't really like when someone says you can't talk to somebody and they're right there. The handler for Maurice redeemed herself because she ended up being really cool. But there were one or two people at that con I was about to say, like, you know what? I'm putting this temper back in the holster because I don't want to get thrown out. But I was about ready to fight a handler or two. I'm like, they're right there. What is so hard about this? Like, contracts I get, but it's just like, if they give you the runaround or you wait in line, then it's like, oh, we don't do this. I was like, you could have just said that, saved us 30 fucking minutes.
Yeah, really. You're like, I thought this was the line to Thunder Mountain, pal.
Yeah, I was.
No, that's 2 hours.
I was definitely the smooth over of the two of us that day, which is interesting.
Good.
Yeah, Rich was just like, calm. Get some water. Get some water. And I'm like, I'm gonna get some water.
Hey, this is Mitchell Whitfield. You may know me as Barry from Friends or Stan from My Cousin Vinny, and this is Splash Pages.
I love it. When I met Maurice, I actually gave him a comic book because I told him I was giving comic books to all the guests that day. And I gave him a copy of Turok, and he goes, Turok, son of stone! Like, it was the coolest thing ever. And I'm just like, wow, all right, cool, enjoy, man.
Yeah, it was really great. I honestly, I really look forward to doing more cons with you guys. Like, honestly, that's the best, is that everybody that I've worked with in this network, everybody is just great. The energy is there, the passion, it just makes it better. And that's what I've always said, like, going to cons is cool, getting attention or not, but it's the team, man. You know, it's the team. And I'm not to try to be some sort of sentimental after school special, tying this shit up with a sentimental message, but you know,
I learned it from watching you. No, wait.
You know.
Is that the one with the eggs?
looks like 2 strips of bacon short of breakfast to me. I don't know.
Yep. Thanks.
I do think it's funny. I do think it's funny that the guests there, the celebrity guests that Dara and I went out of our way to get in line and get autographs and take photos with, are a lot of the same guests that you guys went to and got photos with and some interviews with and did bumps and what have you. And it's funny because I had some really good interactions. I mean, they were all great interactions all together.
I love your Vincent D'Onofrio story.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the two best were Connor Leslie and Jason Marsden. For both of them, as just somebody who walked up and said, "Hey, I would really love to get a photograph and an autograph." We ended up speaking with Connor Leslie for almost 10 minutes and Jason Marsden for almost 15. Jason Marsden, actually, like, we got so into the conversation that he eventually, like, kind of looked past my shoulder and he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, like, I gotta cut this short. There's a lot of people behind you now." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? That tracks, man. Absolutely not a problem."
Yeah, right.
But like he was really getting into like shooting the shit with me, and it was so genuine. And same with Connor Leslie. I managed to sneak in, like, because she was saying, like, "Oh, I love like alternate reality and alternate history stuff." And I was like, "Oh, I do a podcast about comic books that do stuff like that. It's called Comics Paradox." And it's like, "Oh,
do you like gladiator movies?"
Yeah. Do you like movies about gladiators, Joey? And she wrote it down. But when I discussed Man in the High Castle with her, she like lit up because especially because and this is 100% true. Dara can back me up on this. I watched Man in the High Castle, every new episode that came out, and I watched it all the way through. I was looking forward to it. It was one of my dad's favorite novels, and so I was aware of it before it was a thing on Amazon. And obviously, like, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool comic book dork on top of it. I went from watching Man in the High Castle to a couple of years later watching Titans when it came out, which I'm still doing right now. And the first 2 episodes of the current season's out, and they're really good.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
HBO Max, and they're really good. Like, I'm already far more, not that the last season was bad, but I'm far more invested in this season already than I was previously.
Less Jason Todd stuff, hopefully.
No Jason Todd stuff. So that's a thumbs up right there, of course. That kid had the most punchable face.
Agreed.
But I said to her, I went from that to that, and it took me a full season of watching Titans to be like, how do I know this actress? And it blew my fucking mind that she was the same actress that played the sister in Man in the High Castle. And I said, that is a testament to both your acting ability and the fact that, holy crap, just from meeting you in person, and I'm not trying to like lay it on you here, but like, you're a beautiful woman, and they really had to tamp that down. And she straight up was like, I had to fight for them to do that. They gave me pretty girl ugly makeup. And I was like, no. You need to make me look like sick and tired and drawn out and pallid. Like, she really went into it. She was like, yeah, they really were just trying to go like very Hollywood glossed over, like, ugly with this.
In like a ponytail and glasses.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lainey Briggs. Like, oh my God. She changed out of her paint splattered overalls and let her hair down, took her glasses off, and now she's beautiful. But I will say this, and I did not expect this. When she stood up to take the photograph with Dara and I was just like, tall.
Yeah, she's very tall.
I was like, whoa, like, and then like as we're walking in, I'm like, why isn't she actually playing Wonder Woman instead of Wonder Girl in Titans? It was mind blowing. But yeah, she was so great to talk to, and Jason Marsden. My one regret was that just as I was about to ask him about it, I wanted to just kind of inquire, like, I assume you've heard of it at the very least, but the Goofy movie episode of Atlanta that had dropped that week right before Comic-Con. I watch Atlanta, the Donald Glover show on FX, and the last episode's coming up this week. But they did they talk about alternate reality stuff. It's just like this whole different tangent, and they had this whole backstory as to how a Goofy movie was made, and you have to know the show, especially to understand like why they were telling this story as like a mini quote documentary the way they were doing it. But it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Like, and I can only imagine they used actual clips from a Goofy movie in the episode.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and all I could think was like, when I met Jason Mars, I'm like, so have you seen it? Like, what do you think about it? Because it's not a very typical story the way you would think. They do it's not at all what the history of the actual movie is. It's based according to what the alternate history of the world of Atlanta is. And just as I was getting ready to ask, like, all of a sudden, like, it's like people saw Jason Marsden talking to someone, and then they were like, oh, we should go get a photo with him or something. And that's when people started lining up. So, I guess you're welcome. But it was just really cool to be able to sit back and talk with some of these folks and not have it be any pressure whatsoever. Same with Rachel McFarlane. She was absolutely.
Oh, she
great.
was there too. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Brandon had such praise.
What's that?
You had such praise for her. When you
she was great, man. She even she filled out, she signed a photo for us, and filled the whole thing out. And then as she was about to hand, she took a look at it. She's like, "No, I don't like this at all. No, I'm gonna sign a new one. I don't like that." And just boom, pulled out a new marker, and she's like, "Here, this is much better." And came around and took a photo with us. And she even I was wearing my Spider-Man Roosevelt shirt that day, and she came around and she was like, "Oh my god, this shirt is I just thought this is nice." It was great. Yeah, but she was an absolute doll. And Tara Strong's always amazing. But she doesn't get a chance to spend.
Did you get to meet her?
Time.
No, I did
Rich.
not.
Rich.
No, I couldn't get. We couldn't get near her. Her line was always huge. I did get to laugh one time with her vicinity and be like, "Tara," and then I bellow my laugh, and I actually heard her say, she goes, "Well, that's a pretty decent laugh." So I definitely appreciated that, but.
Hey,
Rich is I didn't get to meet her, but I did get to meet E.G. Daily. Joke,
That's
just for
right.
Brandon.
I'll take it.
It's almost the same thing.
I mean, I know that we're having a great time talking about this, but we're coming in an hour and 45, and we haven't talked about What If yet. But I do want to wrap up saying that both Mary Gugliotti from Clerks and Michael Whitfield, I've already briefly chatted with on Instagram very quickly with both positive reactions. So what a great time. Great time with Drew, great time with Leo. It was nice seeing you, Brandon. Justin, we got to have you out next year. I know you want us to go to C2E2, but it's a lot more expensive for us all to grab a flight out there versus us all chipping in $20 to grab a flight to get you out here.
Well, I'm hoping to do Terrificon in Granite State. So,
Justin, I support you going to C2E2. I went in 2020, and it was absolutely one of the best before the world fell apart.
Yeah, I was there, so we probably ran by each other.
yeah, and it's so funny because we had some technical mishaps, and my cheer up story is that I fucked up my interview with Joe Hill at C2E2 is my first one. And I did the classic. I'm so starstruck because I'm such a Stephen King fan. And if you ever meet Joe, he looks like his fucking dad. So it's just
I've met him several times.
Yeah, you know this, and you can back me up. He looks like some of his dad's old photos. And I was so starstruck, I forgot to press record. So we to do this whole amazing interview, and I just hate my. But I mean, the guy who I was working with, he's able to salvage it, and we still had some really good moments. But that to me was just the lesson. I was like, no matter what I do, so
well, you'll never make that mistake again, right?
Ever. So
there you go. That's your takeaway.
You live and learn. But I will say this before we get to the news, Bren, your story reminded me this one that when I went to Rhode Island the first time, I met Henry Winkler and I paid for a photo op, and I'm so excited because it's the Fonz. It's Henry Winkler. But for me, I was like, it's Barry Zuckercorn, everyone, from Arrested Development, right? And I get a photo with him. He is the nicest person, which I've been told is the title of my con autobiography. He was just such a nice guy. The story of getting autographs from Mollo. And I told him I'm such a big fan and whatnot. And he had a print. It was him, Jeffrey Tamor, and the mom. She passed away. She was Mallory Archer. I always forget her name.
Jessica Walter.
Thank you, Jessica Walter.
What's her name on PCU, Brandon?
Yes, PCU. Thank you, Dean.
President Garcia Thomas.
Yeah. The Virgil.
But he signed it. And he signed the print for me, and he passed it to me. He's like, "Don't you say anything." I was like, "Yes, sir." So I just got a free autograph from Henry Winkler, and I've always had it. And I was just thinking and it was like, "Oh, Henry Winkler." I was like, "You shut your mouth if you have something negative about that man." He is.
You shut your fucking mouth.
Exactly. It's the same thing if anyone ever says anything bad about Maurice or Lorenzo Music, Frank, everything. I was like, "You need to shut
who would
this
say
down."
something?
But that's what I'm saying. But I was like, "You that I will shut you down like they should have done Chernobyl. Lock it up."
Well, speaking of shutting down, I'm going to go through the news really quick on what I have, and then Drew, if you want to cover what you have real quick. But George Lopez did a interview recently, and he let slip that most likely Batman is going to be in the Blue Beetle.
Hey,
cool.
Yeah.
Which Batman?
The guy who dresses up because his parents were killed.
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne.
Oh, Bruce Wayne. Oh, that guy. Got it.
Maybe we should call him Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it was not specified, but Batman.
I hope if he's in it, they give us a quick reminder as to why exactly Bruce Wayne dresses like a bat to fight crime in Gotham City.
You think?
I always forget
in an alley?
in almost every Batman movie or project I've ever seen. What is it? Oh, that's right. They shoot his parents.
What kind of necklace was his mom wearing? What was it again? What was it? Diamond?
Pearl. That's right.
Oh, pearls. Right.
Okay.
Leo, I didn't
nice...
see who made that comment, but yeah, Henry Winkler was Adam Smasher's uncle in Black Adam.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Wonder Man starts filming in next year, and if you caught the new Wakanda trailer, they actually say Namor is stronger than the Hulk.
In water is what they say.
Yeah.
They say it in water.
In water.
Yeah, they said it. They said it like it.
He's in the ocean.
Stronger than that. So there's just an ambiguous statement.
But I mean, guys, really, is he? Yeah. I mean, really.
Well, once again, it all depends on who's writing them.
Yeah.
I've already been seeing that the early reviews are saying Black Panther 2 is just fantastic. So I mean,
I bet it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Now, who's seeing it this week?
Listen, when something new comes out, you can pretty much take it for granted. I'm going to see it.
I forgot it was happening, but okay, yes. Which is no disrespect.
I'm wearing my my new Black Panther Roosevelt shirt to the movie.
Yeah, he is.
I got a Pink Panther one. I missed the boat.
Well, like I'll take one for the new Inspector Clouseau.
Yeah, it's not even the Pink Panther. It's just a big picture of Inspector Clouseau all over.
Now, what is it?
Wow, that guy's a big fan of Owens Corning insulation. I guess.
What is on this new shirt, Brandon? Because it's not the Black Panther from the last series, is it?
It's a purple tribal pattern with Black Panther like all over it. Like it's it's T'Challa.
Okay, it's T'Challa.
Yes, I'm torn as to whether or not I should wear the matching boxer briefs.
Oh, I know the one you got then. Okay,
I do have the matching boxer briefs. I'm not gonna lie.
The answer is yes.
The last
just tuck the shit right into those and stroll up. I believe I have one ticket reserved for me. Sir, I believe you have one police vehicle on its fucking way.
Sir, you can't bring that spear in here.
Don't worry, it's made of vibranium.
The last item I had is quite possibly Mobius will be in Deadpool 3.
Yes.
So, good.
Speedboats. No, jet skis. Right.
Jet skis. Deadpool variants, maybe. Yeah, I agree, J-Bo. I call BS too. You know.
Yeah, it's probably how they just cut the clip.
But is she stronger than Smart Hulk?
He is
MCU Smart Hulk.
Yeah,
probably. Probably. But back to my news because I don't want to get there. I do have some sad news I want to cover, and then I have some really good news at the end. One sad news, I just found this out today, and it's very sad. It's a comic book death. This year has been rough for comic book people. And to add to our victories, Kevin O'Neill passed away recently on the 7th after battling a long illness. For people who don't know who Kevin O'Neill is, he's a very well-known British comic book artist who's really well known for his collaborations with Alan Moore. At one point, people joked that he was the person Comic Code was trying to ban after a story, I believe, in the Green Lanterns, the Green Lantern Annual, which was so intense to the comics code. They were like, we can't put the stamp, and they're like, all right, well then don't.
That was the Smalt one, right?
It was.
Yeah, that was
indeed.
rough. Yeah.
It was a very dark story, but genius in its own right. And later on, Kevin became his constant collaborator for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which they did all the way to the end of Alan's retirement. And I got to say, I mean, what a loss. I mean, Kevin O'Neill was such an amazing artist. I loved League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and yeah, that was pretty sad. And then even today, the actor who voiced the Sorting Hat in Harry Potter passed away. His name is Leslie Phillips. He's a British actor. He's 98. Passed away. So to our Pottermore fans, I say what I said to one of my best friends, who's a big Potterhead. May he get sorted where he belongs. So
Hufflepuff for life.
Every day. But another good news, speaking of Spider-Verse, is that we just found out, or recently we just found out, that the gentleman from I got to get his name right because it's going to bug me if I don't. Daniel Kajula, the guy who was in Jordan Peele's Get Out and Nope, who also played a character in Black Panther. He will be voicing
Kaluuya?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
correct.
So he will be voicing Spider-Punk in the new Spider-Verse sequel.
Oh, so he's gonna do like a Sid Vicious, like British.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh,
I know.
and they also announced we're going to get the Spider-Man from the video game and also Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Sweet.
Wait, does that mean we get Drake Bell? I'll pass on him.
Anyone still hiring him?
No.
You didn't like Ultimate Spider-Man?
No, I love Ultimate Spider-Man. I just
not the cartoon.
We're at that point where liking Drake Bell isn't cool anymore, so we're just gonna.
So Neil Patrick Harris?
Yes,
that'd be a good one.
Because he was the voice of Peter Parker and Spider-Man for the MTV.
Yeah, I was just thinking the MTV one. Yeah.
By the way, we had Charlie Schlatter on. You guys know that he was the original voice casting for Fry in Futurama, right?
That I was, just like you wanted to ask Jason Marsden, I wanted to ask him because he kept bringing up Billy West. I was like, do you guys have like a competition going? Like you missed out the chance to be on Fry, so you were just perpetually trying to one up each other voice acting wise. But then I was like, no,
they're probably good friends. Actually, I'm sure
they probably are. No, listen,
voice actors are like that.
You have to understand for this interview,
saw that at the con. They all know each other.
For this interview, Brandon won. Like that was like what I mean by Brandon is that like when you were talking about 18 again, like you were like, okay, cool, yes, I'm hooked, I'm in, I'm here. I'm so glad I said yes to Leo's request to fill in. Cool. Like,
I mean, you were just seeing the movie. That's crazy that you just watched it.
Yeah, like I just purchased it on Vudu, and because it was like made available. And because like on Vudu right now, it's only available in standard def. And I was like, well, not really how I like to roll, but I loved this movie as a kid, so I'm going to buy it. And I watched it. And then you're like, oh, yeah, Charlie Schlatter. I'm like, all right. Yeah.
I got questions.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had far more questions than I even asked. But yeah, I mean, the dude got to work with George Burns and Red Buttons.
Yeah,
when he's
that's
like
insane.
Like 20 years old. Like that's knucking futz to me.
Yeah, Brandon, when we were talking to him behind the scenes before we went live on the show, like as soon as I heard his voice, like I remember him exactly from 18 again. Like his voice is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right. Age has not changed his voice. Like it was instantly recognizable.
It's incredible. And I tell you, and here's the other thing. I didn't even bring it up. I forgot until I rewatched it. His friend in the movie, not his grandfather's friend played by Red Buttons, but his age appropriate friend that was helping him like paint a mural like on a factory wall was Pauly Shore. Like, I completely forgot that Pauly Shore was in that movie. That is the first movie I ever saw Pauly Shore in. Not
I probably haven't seen that movie
Man.
since it came out, or since it was on HBO the first
1988
time.
or so. Yeah. No, I mean, no worries. I don't think a lot of people have necessarily seen it, but you got to think there was I had touched upon it. There was a glut of those movies at the time. There was 18 Again, like Father Like Son, Big, Vice versa,
Freaky
Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Heaven Can Wait.
yeah,
Was that-
I mean
was that the one with
that
the
was
angel?
late 70s though.
Yeah, but
What
that's
was the one
still
with Kelly Preston.
Yeah, no, but Leo, like these movies all came out within like a year and a half to 2 years.
Did they do a sequel of Heaven Can Wait or a reboot?
Hell Can Wait.
They did do a reboot. It starred
Drag Me to
Chris
Hell.
Rock.
Oh,
They
you're
did a
right.
remake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I'm trying. I can't remember what the name of the Chris Rock version was.
Yeah, he was in a white person, like old white person.
Yeah, I cannot for the life of me remember.
There was another I remember in the 80s a something like Heaven
The
Can
Heavenly
Wait.
Kid.
The Heavenly Kid.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Where,
With Jane-
where he
with
like
Jane
drives the car
Kasmeric.
off in the end.
What's that?
He drives the car off into the sky in the
Yeah.
end.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that's the one where
That's the
I
Heavenly
think
Kid. Yeah,
that's the one that Kelly Preston was in. I think.
Kelly Preston. Was she what? Really?
I think so.
What?
I don't know.
I know Jane Kasmeric, the mom from Malcolm in the Middle, played the girl who dated the greaser before he died, and then, is the mother of the kid that he's been sent to help. Which it's like, if you've ever seen a fucking movie or a television show before, obviously that kid is his kid. Oh shit. Jane Kasmeric, Nancy Valent. No, I don't see her in this. Kelly, no Kelly Preston in this. I do remember her in The Experts with John Travolta and Ari Gross.
Oh man, I remember her in Space Camp.
Wow. I mean,
Wow, you just said Space Camp.
Yeah, I did. Use the Force, Luke.
So Brandon,
So we're talking about
we covered What If number 28 in a previous Comics Paradox. Do you
That's
want to do a quick synopsis of that, and we'll pop over to 29, or how do you want to handle it?
If you would love to hear what happened in issue number 28 of What If, which covers what if Captain America had led an army of super soldiers in World War II, I would highly recommend checking out the episode of Comics Paradox that I did with both Leo Pond and Justin Cooper. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, wherever fine podcasts are broadcast. I highly recommend it. I feel like it'll give you an overall complete idea of what this whole story arc was, but we will make this accessible enough right now for you that by the time you get to the end, you may want to see what that first part was, because this second part is definitely different than the first in some interesting and weird ways, I will say.
Agreed.
So yeah, check it out on Comics Paradox. The episode's already up, and it's just waiting for you. Go ahead and stick it in. Press play.
Whoa.
It's your homage to the first appearance of Captain America in the Avengers cover.
Yes, indeed. I do love how we know that Frank Castle is in some Stark designed armor, because why wouldn't Frank Castle put a giant white skull all over fucking everything?
You guys just ever wish the Punisher would go away?
Yes, I call that days that end in Y.
Yeah, I'm just not a Punisher fan.
Like, listen, for those of you
The
out there
movie was okay.
who
Yeah.
love the Punisher, good on you. That's great.
Well,
I
apparently,
wish I was one of you.
apparently John Bernthal's in training to come back to the MCU.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that for me is the show that was on Netflix.
Mhm.
I've never seen a single fucking episode of it, and
It was good.
I've watched any number of things out there, including a good portion of Agents of Shield, and I just had no desire to watch that show at all.
Well, listen, there's some like it is what it is. Personally, I'm a Punisher fan of only if he's written in a good way. Like my favorites are always when Garth Ennis was writing Punisher, because I just think that he captures the spirit well. Frank is a monster. He accepts who he is. He does what he does, and eventually he knows one day he will finally die. But yet, he just keeps going, keeps killing, and I just think Garth Ennis really had that nice balance of gallows humor, action, and whatnot. And he was paired with Steve Dillon. I mean, it was a dream team. So just
and listen, I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. I legitimately mean it when I say, if one is into the Punisher, by all means, enjoy yourself. But I wish for me, it's few and far between that I am just entirely, me personally, entirely uninterested in any aspect of a character. And for me, the Punisher ticks off that box. It's just a character I've never really, I guess I've never really truly wrapped my head around. I've read Punisher War Journal in the past. Like I've tried, you know what I mean? I've sat down. I've always, and I couldn't do it. I think part of it too is, as a kid, and I know this might be odd, especially for a kid growing up in the 80s, but I was given, several Marvel treasuries, so you had a mishmash of different stories. And quite literally, the first story I ever read with the Punisher in it was a reprint of the first story the Punisher was ever in, where he was hired to assassinate Spider-Man. So as a kid, coming up in my head, the Punisher was not a good guy. So why would I root for him? It's sort of the same thing for me with Venom, honestly. I understand that Venom looks cool, but I'm like, he's a bad guy, right? I mean, we're in agreement on that at the point in time that he was popping up, they first arrived. And it's become a different thing now altogether. But
well, how do you rationalize Brandon then? Because the same time as the Punisher was becoming popular, so was Wolverine.
Oh yeah, no, Wolverine is somebody I just did not come around on.
Or Lobo, maybe.
Oh nope, didn't like. I don't really care for Lobo either.
Okay, so you just don't like that era of character.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because I like Lobo for what Lobo is supposed to be, if that makes sense. I don't like Lobo for what fans expected him to be, because I think the joke of Lobo in his creation was unfortunately lost on a lot of people. They didn't quite get at that point in time that he was a commentary on those types of characters.
Right.
And now over the years, he's just become, absolutely laden with the same type of tropes that he was supposed to be poking a little bit of fun at. So there's this expectation Lobo is just the space badass that can, throw down with anybody. And it's all right, well, that's pretty much the arc of the character as far as
what do you think of Lobo's thumb?
Lobo's thumb?
Yeah, you guys watch what was it? Young Justice with Lobo's thumb, which just sits there at the end credits for the entire third season.
Jesus. No, I did not catch that.
That's pretty fun. I didn't mean to start a whole diatribe about the Punisher. I think that Marvel uses him in these, and they just use him all the time. It's let's get one guy who is a really good soldier and something, just throw him at stuff. I'm like, you know what? You could have picked Wyatt Wingfoot, or you could have picked I don't know, Dum Dum Duggan, or anybody else. But it's just oh, let's throw the Punisher out there, and it's kind of boring. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that again, that's what I've said. Him, I feel Marvel does the same thing with Wolverine. They just want that unstoppable antagonistic fuzzy brawler. They're like, Wolverine, he's good. I mean, you know, it's the same thing with Spider-Man.
All of a sudden, Puck isn't cool. I guess whatever.
Hey,
Yeah.
Puck has never been cool.
You take that back.
You take that back.
I love Puck, but he's not cool. Yeah.
No, I agree.
hey, Alpha Flight, my dude, stop it.
They're well written too. So,
but I just think what it is just with Marvel. Again, I just think that it's just like their movies. They like to sometimes play it safe. It's not about the risks and whatnot. And personally, reading this, I feel like I really should read more what ifs because I love when you consider possibilities. You know, it's those are the best
baby,
stories.
that's what we do over at Comics Paradox. We are the fucking dreamers of dreams.
And
shit.
Check out our snozberries.
He gets it.
The same thing with, like what DC did with Elseworlds. That's what Marvel does with What Ifs. And
we cover both.
Not every one is great, but you got to give credit for the creativity. I mean,
oh yeah, no. If you listen to like some of the very first episodes where we did like Volume 1 What If shit from Marvel.
I think the worst one was when Jane.
Oh my god! What if Jane Foster had found the Hammer of Thor? We just tore that fucking issue apart. When you listen to it, you can hear us all rubbing our individual temples through the microphone. Just, oh my fucking god! I'm apologizing to them and the listeners. I'm like, I'm so sorry, guys. This is all on me. I picked this.
But like with this one, like I have, just to say context, I did have to read issue 28 just because I was like, okay, I want to understand the full scope of things. This issue was great. I will say this, just the differences of this world and whatnot. I just also found it funny that someone's like, oh, hey, let's put the Punisher in an Iron Man suit. I was like, yes. And yet 30, 40 years down, someone would do something similar. Like, oh, hey, let's give the Punisher the War Machine suit.
Everything has been done at this point. Yeah. From What Ifs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's actually part of the fun of going through, especially Volume 2. It's like, oh, well, here it was in 1987. You tricky devils, you.
Simpsons.
You thought we wouldn't find out, but here we are.
No, nobody wants to read that far.
Well, speaking of reading, Brandon, why don't you take us through the episode or the issue?
Sure. Yeah. The issue-sode.
Issue.
So I mean, we can start off. Basically this is a continuation from issue number 28. This is part 2 of 2, in which we are seeing the answer to the question: what if Captain America had formed the Avengers? It's important to keep in mind that the Avengers had already been formed when Captain America was found frozen in ice, and then he joined the team. In this particular issue, we're dealing with the aftermath of the super soldier serum being mass produced, because right after Steve Rogers received that and the Vitarays that activated it, he was actually able to push Dr. Erskine out of the way of the assassin's bullet and saved his life. So he had the opportunity to continue making the super soldier serum for Operation Rebirths, for the military's Operation Rebirth in the United States. Because of that, Howling Commandos basically become the new group of super soldiers that Steve Rogers as Captain America, just tramples through Germany with, and he comes back to being a war hero. Everybody's super thrilled with Captain America and the like. And we get to, let's see, I'm trying to buzz through here. I'm like, maybe I should have reread 28 before we did this. Let's see. Yes, he is. Is he elected at this point? Yeah. He became elected president and then just got reelected. And because of his super soldier serum, he's not aging. So he's just become like the perfect dictator for America. And he decides to make the super soldier serum available to American citizens But oh, look at this. Apparently, it doesn't work on African American people, on black people. So, I guess it's just all the white people who are going to get the super soldier serum. And now there's just been a whole new class system created within the United States of America, still based on lines of prejudice and hatred. And they've instituted, basically shield hunter squads, just searching out anybody that could potentially be enhanced individuals or be considered enemies of the state. And so it's basically just a bunch of super trained shield agents who also are super soldiers.
That was rough.
But yeah, the trick of it all, the control portion, is Steve Rogers has the super soldier serum. He doesn't need anything extra, but Americans need to get a booster shot in order to maintain the enhancements that the super soldier serum provides. And yeah, towards coming into the story, we actually come upon what the last one ended with. Namor, for some reason, he was wandering New York City with amnesia and looking very unkempt, and he gets chased down by one of those hunter squads, and he finally, for the first time in however long, apparently falls into the nearby body of water. And as soon as he hits the bay, he remembers who he really is, and he starts tearing shit up, and he manages to swim all the way up north to the Arctic, and that's where he comes across a group of Eskimos worshiping an ice deity, which the whole thing is like super like, okay, this was very culturally off, just all together. But as he shoos them away, he sees that the figure in the ice is in fact a frozen Captain America. And just as he's kind of trying to figure out how to deal with that, he gets rolled up on by Iron Punisher.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, Iron Punisher. Let's go with that.
Iron Punisher, and he shoots Namor in the back with his very War Machine like apparatus on his wrists, and they nab Namor, this kill squad, this hunter squad, and the now broken out of the ice body of supposedly Steve Rogers. Everybody's scratching their head trying to figure out how the hell Captain America could be frozen in ice when Captain America is the president of the United States of America.
Yeah, and that's him and his buddy Clint Barton.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and as these guys are talking, we come to realize that one of these hunter dudes from S.H.I.E.L.D. is Clint Barton, also known as Hawkeye in the regular 616 or whatever you want to call it. And it just goes to show you how affected some of these folks would be by this reality. Also important to note that aside from Frank Castle, every single one of these S.H.I.E.L.D. dudes is gigantic, like muscular and blonde. They all look like Steve Rogers wannabes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
must be John Walker. Yeah.
Two of the guys in one of the panel look just like it's like the same fucking face twice. Lower left-hand panel right there.
Yep.
It's absolutely ridiculous. You would think
those are the Winklevoss twins.
Oh, their hair weaves are different though.
Oh yeah, one part's on the left and one part's on the right.
That's a bear trap shit.
Good eye, though. I didn't catch that. That's a good signifier. It's very easy to tell them apart now.
But
I'm Marlene.
But
yeah, so
I mean,
we get Steve Rogers, kind of coming to from his 50-year ice slumber, and what's that?
It was like he was like, yeah, I was on a boat. What?
I was on a boat, and then there was some pew pews and explosion, and now I'm here. I don't understand it. I do like that he says to Frank Castle, he's like, you rely too much on fancy weapons. Like, you have a super soldier serum in a disc. Fuck you, Steve Rogers.
I wish he woke up and like asked about like a program at the time. It'd be like, did Little Orphan Annie ever escape from that well or something like that? It's like, do you
Quick,
think
what happened to Lamont Cranston?
Yeah, exactly.
What does the message by Ovaltine mean?
what the hell is Ovaltine?
The Lindbergh baby. Tell me about the Lindbergh baby.
Did Leslie ever get out of the kid out of the well? They didn't make it.
Oh,
shit. Took too long.
Well, Lassie made it, but that was 40 years ago. So now we've got a new Lassie.
What happened to issue number 13 of Captain Whizbang? I need to know.
No.
The whiz didn't bang. No. But no,
I hate to tell you this, Steve, but it was canceled.
But then basically once he gets, and I'm just thinking like, my God, you're getting your facts from Frank Castle and Namor. I was like, yes, the most reliable of Marvel sources.
Oh, for sure.
He doesn't even say Imperious Rex.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, look at this Fomor here, this fake Namor.
My thing with Namor here is like the whole amnesia thing. Okay, fine, sure. You're wandering around New York City wearing a trench coat and pants, and you're like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what a razor is. I can't remember how to get a haircut. But how did you not pick up on the fact that you had fucking wings on your ankles? Like that never stood out to you?
Right.
Like,
and
maybe I should.
You don't act like you're wearing shoes because you're homeless. So, you probably walk around in socks or something. But for me, it was like, I thought about it. I was like, wait a second, this is so weird and kind of dumb because, like, oh, I got exposed to water. So, like, if this guy took a bath, then suddenly,
That's what I'm saying. It's the first time he's touched water, and all the time.
Like rain doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like he drinks a bottle of water, and suddenly, oh, I remember now. Like,
makes me think of that old like Captain America or Avengers cartoon. Once again, man, like fucking Namor sees a pool and he's like, ah, yes, I'll jump into this pool of water to refresh myself and regain my strength. And he just jumps right in. And the second he plops in, he goes, wait a minute. This isn't water. It's alcohol. It's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen or heard in my life.
And he says alcohol, and I'm just thinking, party pool. That's what I'm thinking.
He never once splashed water on his face. Not a fucking time. Like, I just don't get it.
And then, you've got these two. I was like, hey, look, it's Namor the hobo. And we've got, the worst person to put
Iron
on
Punisher with the shield kill boys. Yeah,
exactly. And then, somebody who really needs to take a nap, but not. And it's just like, we're gonna put the band together. What band? We're gonna avenge them. That's what we're gonna avenge our fallen dreams.
But wait, they're not dead.
Talking to these two dudes the first time you're coming back after being frozen. It's like the fucking scene in Labyrinth with the two doors. Like, one tells the truth and one lies. But how do you can only ask one question. That's how you get by him. Who's who? How do you figure it out? Like, this is an impossible situation for Captain America. And he's still just like, we'll be a team. Like, wow, Steve, right. You're a really trusting fellow. I don't know if I could do that.
He's like, I got no one. I've been dead, asleep for 40 years.
Yeah, I think I work for you, but you're the president. Oh, interesting. Hey, have you noticed how the two guys that were your partners that we locked up look an awful lot like Nazis?
Yeah.
And then I got to say, this is an interesting twist for Wolverine. Like, to me, this really said to me, like, the writer did their homework, because, like, I didn't even know that story was a thing. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, and it was even funny having, like, the Watcher kind of explain it, because he's the narrator and the thing. He was just like, oh, yeah, do you remember this thing? This happened in your world? Yeah, it did happen in this one. And I'm like, thanks, Mr. Watcher.
Yeah.
Just helping you with the story, Timmy.
Well, this means at some point Logan will had to have eaten human flesh and to be punished. He gets the curse of the Wendigo.
Well,
but he calls himself the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Surprising absolutely no one.
Yeah, that was surprising. I was like, Wolverine, but he's the Hulk, but he's the Wendigo. And I'm just like, multiverse.
It's a threefer.
He doesn't have the tail, though, does he?
I don't know. I wasn't
No, I don't see the.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, Wendigo has a tail, so the Marvel version does at least. If you ever read the Hulk 181 or was it Astonishing X-Men?
No,
where they fought like a whole army.
Yeah,
of
no,
Wendigos?
Wendigo has a tail, absolutely. In this
Well,
one,
I'm saying this one.
in this one does not.
He doesn't appear to.
Yeah, he's like Sasquatch from Alpha Flight, kind of.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's a forfer, it's a quarter.
And then I got to be honest, like this is an interesting twist on Sam Wilson, and Giant Man and stuff. But I got to be honest with you, I was like, Frank, no, I don't want a racist Frank Castle, please. Like,
but I mean, within the context of the story, though.
Oh no,
it makes sense.
It makes sense. No, it does. But I'm just like, oh no, Frank. We want to like
always
Frank.
a good guy, Like you can always count on Sam to be like your tried and true anchor of morality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is pretty dependable. That's for sure. Like he is a fucking like good dude through and through.
And he didn't need to put on the original Falcon costume to be a good dude this time.
But it's interesting they chose Sam Wilson versus Bill Foster, because Bill Foster was already Giant Man and Black Goliath.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Yeah. Maybe because of the Captain America connection they went with instead.
Yeah, that's probably. You know what? That's probably what they were sticking with.
100%.
I was wondering that the first time I read this too, Rich, about that, like why they didn't go with Bill Foster, because you're right, he was definitely around at this time, because this was well after his term in the Avengers.
He was probably dead. I mean, come on, look at that. The murder squad was just like, no, you're a threat. Bye. I mean,
I'm like, he's dead. We didn't get to Civil War for years. Again, another place Frank Castle shows up and ruins everything.
Again, another case of where Magneto is just supposed to be the bad guy, and I'm just like, wow. Like I really thought, like the first issue was like, no, they're like, Watcher's like, see, because of this, you don't get Magneto, and here we go.
See, look, if someone had just freed him a little earlier and given him a hug. Yeah,
well, this is his
guess
costume.
That's how that works, Uatu.
This is his costume from when he was leading the New Mutants.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I mean, he's really not a bad guy here. I mean, look at what he gets pushed to. He was a good guy.
Got slaughtered in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very different reason for Magneto to do what he does.
Oh, totally.
And definitely still stemming from, the horrors that he was made, witness to and experienced himself as a child in Auschwitz and whatnot. I shouldn't say and whatnot in Auschwitz. So yeah, it's definitely a more sympathetic view of him than he was given, particularly at this point in time in comics regularly. There was still just more focusing on Magneto being more just a megalomaniac than anything else. It's interesting to see that the seeds for exploring the psychology behind what he does were there for quite some time, and it took maybe a little bit more advanced storytelling to get to the point where they could explore that, figure out how to.
I disagree on that, because this is post God Loves Man Kills, so I think we're already there with Magneto in canon here.
Yeah, really?
What year did this come out? Rated? Is this late 80s?
Shit. I closed the window on all the info on
That's okay. I mean, because I'm just thinking the Magneto that we have here is going to be, you know, the guy who's struggling with, you know, teaching the New Mutants and all that, and he's a deep character. He's been de-aged and then re-aged, and he's had a trial, and they found him innocent, so he's not a supervillain. This Magneto in this era, and he's not going to go back to being that until, you know, the end of like X-Men
Oh
number
yeah,
1.
1991. Wow, this was
so
later than I thought it was.
Charles went off with Lilandra and left Magneto in charge of
right.
Yeah, Charles, the real
Westchester.
villain, faked his death a third time. You know, it's like, yeah.
See, this is why you guys know more about X-Men than me, is because that shit read like a superpowered fucking All
Soap
My
opera.
Children.
Just
Jesus,
don't try to
Mary
keep
Joseph.
the continuity. Like, I was talking to old man Wade about Bishop, and he's like, I hate Bishop. But I was just like trying to go through it. I'm like, what don't you like about, you know? And it's like, you can say one thing about a character you like, and then literally the next issue completely counteracts everything that happened. So it's like, that's X-Men. Deal with it. You know, it's like,
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
that, and that's how I deal with it, by
You're
not
right,
dealing
yeah.
with it.
You may as well be like, I like the character Random. You know, like, okay, why? Oh, he hasn't done anything, you know, that you know, different
No,
since
I mean, if somebody-
Fatal Attractions in '95. Okay,
You like the character Random? Why? My reasons vary from time to
my
time.
reasons vary. I like
Yeah.
multiple man for multiple reasons.
I say you get
More than
it.
one. I know it's just the single tear dropping down the cheek. You know, the Claremont trademark. Just,
Yeah, exactly.
you just gotta remember, but you have to do it as you're walking away. Just, it's so sad.
I mean, you can think of the Lonely Man theme from The Incredible Hulk if you want. No one can stop you.
But this
So
is
you
not
have-
an X-Men book, so we digress.
Yes,
Right.
indeed. So
But-
we get a magenta Magneto, which is super cool.
Interesting.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't hate it. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
But
didn't
I
hate it
like
either.
bright colors. I think we can tell.
Yes.
But
Moving
yeah,
on.
so Magneto's just losing his shit because
Leo, move the pages.
This just happened, and then right in front of his face is Captain America. Like, this guy is just living a PTSD nightmare right now, and he is ready to tear Steve Rogers limb from limb, in straight up, like, as an older man now, I must remind you, does say to Captain America, "Do you not recognize me, a boy you freed from the Nazi death camps?" I mean, you were like 6, so probably not. But that, I'm glad that happened. Like,
He's like, oh yeah, you had a beard then.
But for Captain America, that might have only been a week ago.
you were the yeah, exactly. You know, like, oh, you were the small mustachioed lad, weren't you?
No, that was Salvador Dali.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah,
The
you were
rather
the
talented artistic boy.
you were the thin kid. It's like, yes, thank you.
Yeah. I was the thin kid in the pajamas. You nailed it. No, the one with stripes. Ha 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 ha.
But you know,
All right.
and then it just becomes a big heist thing, and it was just like, I feel like sometimes what I liked about this, I don't know who wrote it. I didn't remember the details, but you know, I liked what they told you, because you're like, oh my God, they're talking about all these people who are dead. And I'm just like, oh man, this one isn't here too. And I'm like, this world sucks.
Yeah.
Like, talk about calling all the greatness. But then, I mean, talk about all cameos, like, again, Thor, man. And Thor is just going ham. Like, the next page, Leo, the next page, like, when he just chucks his hammer and it just plows through super soldiers. It's like, fuck you, uber dicks.
Yeah, no,
You know?
it's very satisfying to watch me on there.
One kid punched a nun.
Brick killed a guy.
I mean to talk to you about that.
I do like President Steve Rogers getting the call on the red phone, and all we get from him is, "Yes, Project Rebirth. I understand." Like that. That's the phone call.
Yep.
Ooh.
And then you got these really nice, full page shots. It's great. And then I will say
that's
this.
a great splash page they have there.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
He said the thing.
He said the name of the thing in the thing. Oh, I love when they do that.
And we didn't even need Will Smith.
I just had to Ron Howard Arrested Development. Like, it's like Arrested Development. Hey, that's the name of the show. I'm like, well, we should pack it in now.
Really cool seeing these Avengers assemble.
Avengers.
Level X Operation Rebirth is the large vault-like looking door that Captain America, I guess I'll say for differentiation here, is coming up on, and he puts his I'm assuming he took his glove off for the palm reading scan here.
And it just happens to work.
And look at that. It admits him. And there he finds Dr. Erskine, the creator of the super soldier serum. And the guy is like 126 years old, but he's being kept alive by his own serum. And he recognizes him. The doctor recognizes him, obviously, as Steve. And he's just been in there protected, quote, protected, to make sure that, they can keep getting the super soldier serum. And he has no idea how long he's even been locked up doing it. And that's when Captain America takes him out and he's like, here's a bunch of news stations. Check out what you've done, dickhead. And it just shows him all the problems of America, just the racial divisions, the people getting killed left and right because they decided they wanted to try to fight crime. I think one of the screens actually shows Daredevil getting capped from the rooftop.
He totally would.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh man, not Matt Murdock.
He never saw it coming.
He did, but and then yeah, the second time we've used it tonight. And then you have, President Rogers shows up, and then we have no one ever suspects the Crimson Inquisition. It's like,
it was me, Red Skull, the whole time, you feckless boobs.
Red herring.
Thank you, pup named Scooby Doo.
That's a common theme on our shows, actually.
It really is. Red herring.
I always wanted to see that at a con. Just someone do red herring and just
that'd be great.
That would be pretty funny.
It wasn't me this time, Jones. God.
How many times am I gonna tell you leave me alone, Jones?
And the one time it really was him. And he has a damn meltdown.
Yes, it turns out all along that President Steve Rogers was in fact the Red Skull.
Dun, 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 dun. And then he has to explain how he did it as well, because that's truly villainous.
Now you listen to the plans I made to overtake your country, yeah? Here's how it started. See, on the first, I made sure the ship you were on exploded. I mean, that's actually kind of how it goes down.
Hey guys, you think he'll say Ubermensch a bunch of times?
Ist das der Ubermensch Autometer?
I do love the Ubermensch. It has a nice tone, it's very nice.
I mean,
it just rolls off our German tongues so well.
At least we're trying to go with German accents instead of making them Italian.
That's a good Bronson Pinch show there, Drew, from Exo Foley.
Yes,
very nice.
All the young viewers will get that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're fucking nailing the timely callbacks, references.
Welcome to Flash Page.
Yeah, we have the Red Skull revealing that he managed to make a clone of Steve Rogers' body, resplendent with super soldier serum. And they bombed the boat that he was on, and that's how he ended up getting stuck in the ice and being in suspended animation. Essentially, he had his brain, whatever, put into the clone's body and came back posing as Captain America to slowly infiltrate the United States government and do exactly what he's done to America. And
In which
And
this
Pinky, you know
will
what we're gonna do
happen.
then? We're gonna take over the world.
And this will happen in regular Marvel 616 continuity eventually as well.
yes, this is probably literally what they have planned for next June. So-
No, it's already happened. but
oh,
it's-
yeah.
yeah.
Watch this space. Oh man, well, you guys might not be ready for it.
But your
kids
kids
are
will
gonna love it.
Dear God. So
Too loud.
So you have, and then you finally have, the big fight. Like, I can't believe you did this. You destroyed my life's work. So we have Erskine finally, like, again, it's everything that the Watcher was like, hey, do you remember this happened in your world? Well, it's still going to happen in this world. It's going to happen later. So Erskine's going to die. And then you have the fist fight. And thank God it ends, because I'm like, that's too much Steve Rogers. Like,
yes.
Like Steve fighting Steve. Thank God they didn't do one of those, like, shoot him. Shoot. Which one is the real Steve Rogers? Oh my God.
Wait to see which one has the robot face that falls. That's the trick.
It's all
but
Agent Smiths.
I mean,
Yeah.
I will say it's a little different too, though, because Erskine isn't just like a passive victim. He actually is jumping to protect Steve, like to protect Captain America, because the Red Skull, is straight up about to cap him in his head, and he went out of his way to save the real Steve Rogers' life, and now Steve, of course, is gonna have to mollywop the Red Skull while the Red Skull is wearing his face.
Yep.
I wonder if he
Yep.
looked down at any point. He was like, you know what? That is America's ass.
But and then
Boy, am
again,
I red.
you just have, and then what I love about this is that at the end, this is basically the like a Thelma and Louise ending. Like you just this is off. Like this is the final run. This is the end. Like they're not gonna make it. You know this,
Yeah.
and they're like, listen, we're ending on a high note. And
Yeah, I mean, like they straight up just went up
Thor
against.
could throw his hammer again right to the crowd of people and
There's
dissipate
no
them in
reason
half.
Thor shouldn't have made it.
Yeah, Thor should be the one like, verily they did fight brave. He should be the
He's
one
like,
telling
that was
their
messed
tale.
up. That was a messed up 6 minutes.
I
Yes.
assured you, all of those men have made it to Valhalla. It
Thank
was a
you. Yeah, it
proud
just
day.
skips the meat and protects Earth. But then Ant-Man is like, no, kids, that's what happened to the Avengers, and that's why we made them a statue. And just like, great.
And that statue sits exactly where I don't know.
What you don't realize
It seems
is
like the world's longest Marvel Paul Harvey story.
Yeah.
On the park bench though, that is Steve Rogers as an old man.
Knew it.
And now you know the rest of
No,
the
I
story.
don't think I will.
And how did you survive, Steve? Can you tell us? No, I don't think I will.
So, Steve, you think you could give us a satisfying ending to this 2-part story? No. I
No,
don't think I will.
I'm gonna let the other bald guy that's not Brandon to end the story.
He's the Wendigo. Steve ate all the human flesh.
Hey, listen, Uatu provides some pretty important information sometimes, but we have legitimately read issues where Uatu is a real bitch about his job.
Oh, man. He's so catty.
At one time, he was like, straight up, he was like, must I really go through this with you again? It's like, yeah, bro, I bought your comic. Now fucking fork it over.
At least he's not
Somebody didn't
calling
want to
people
do their
females,
job that
you know?
month. Fuck you, dudes.
So, but
yeah, so that was what if
Solid.
Captain America formed the Avengers. Turns out it's bad news bears if you were on the Avengers, man. Didn't work out. But I guess America was better served for it having happened. This is a weird one. A very
First time must
strange,
die.
very strange follow up to the first part, which I will say was the much stronger part of this story.
It was pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie.
But the fact that they go like a lot more dystopian and sort of, Manchurian Candidate-esque.
Yeah,
with
very
it.
heavy on that.
I can appreciate it. It went from It went from like the sci-fi, old-timey sci-fi war story to, 70s, 80s political thriller. Okay.
Yeah.
It makes sense for the times that they were supposed to be taking place in. It's just, as I guess for me personally, full on like loving the Flights and Tights as well as the Talking Heads. That first half, it's just such a cool idea at that part of it. Like, oh man, imagine if Steve Rogers hadn't been the only super soldier. He had like Dum Dum Dugan and Nick Fury right there by his side, also super soldiers. Like, man, what kind of difference would that make? And this second part of the story certainly zags when you think it's going to zig. So, points to them for that. They definitely subverted expectations for how that story could go. I think as a whole, it's a little uneven, but enjoyable. I think.
Yeah. Oh, definitely enjoyable.
Separate parts. You could read the first part and be like, whoa, that was dope. And you could read, if you read just this second part, even with the synopsis they give you at the front, full page of it, you'd be like, based on this, I don't know if that first one be any good or worth my time, and how wrong you would be. So, it speaks to maybe a good example for why they made some of these what ifs later after they finished the series proper as specials, because it allowed them to expand upon the normal length that they were given for some of these comics. Because this may have worked better if it were able to be one flowing story as opposed to separate. Imagine waiting a month to read that through and through. Like, you got the first part and then you got this part. Yeah, I mean, true, but I mean, waiting for it, like genuinely, like, oh, I can't wait till this issue comes out next month so I can get the second part of this, and then you get it, and you're like,
Well, the cool thing about stories like this, Brandon, though, is that it doesn't have to be perfect to give you a good headspace about it and to make you think. And it really reminded me of like one of the episodes of Sliders that I saw, where it's like, what if the United States lost the World War II, and it kind of puts you in that headspace. You're like, oh, I wonder about this. Like, where would Colossus be, or how come Doctor Strange isn't here? Like, and it puts me in that sort of headspace, which
and
it's
we've talked about that before in past episodes about certain stories. Absolutely, that's one of the fun parts about reading these alternate tales, is that where it ends on the page doesn't mean it has to end there for you. I mean, still go outside and say hi to an actual person every once in a while. Don't live in that space, but it's there for you, and you can play with that. And I mean, that's how people become writers and creators later, because they enjoyed doing that with the things that were given to them initially. I think one of the ones we talked about before we got to the sequel was Superman Last Son of Earth. Yeah, Last Son of Earth, where the way they leave it before you move on to Last Stand on Krypton is like, oh, like things are going to be so different now that he came back. Like, I wonder what that space is going to be like. And granted, they answer that question for you in the follow-up story they do, but the space between, that's a lot of fun speculation. There's going to be plenty of what if in Elseworld stories where we are going to do exactly that. We've had questions about what we could possibly see in other things. I mean, Speeding Bullets was one of them, where we each talked about what we thought like the rest of that world would look like. You have your amalgamation of like Batman and Superman, and
I had to finally get it. It was amazing,
dude. I love it. I have it right here. It's fantastic.
Woo!
That's a good size.
And he
dude.
That's
McFarlane, man.
And
wow. Yeah, I pre-ordered it. I was so happy when it came. But yeah, that's one we talked about it at length, where we kind of expanded our own like headcanon on that, because we all had somewhat differing points of view on that, and it was fun just to kind of trade ideas on it. So that's one of the biggest fun pieces of talking about these things, as well as if you don't know the history that they're altering, it could hopefully be the impetus for you to go and check out that original story. I always found that to be fun as a kid, especially who didn't read a lot of Marvel, that in order for me to kind of know through and through what the point of this might have been, I sometimes had to read like a few issues of an actual like comic book series to get the full effect. I think that's a smart way to get people to know more of your stories and buy more of your stuff, have it all there at their fingertips. It certainly hooked me.
Sometimes they would put this stuff in like the trading cards too. They'd be like, hey, check it out. Here's a what if. And you'd be like, well, what's that?
Oh, yeah, dude. But I think it was just a great way to put some information at people's fingertips, especially because they were really good in What If, with it being a monthly series, by citing story arcs, issue numbers and what have you, that actually showed you where the changes that they were making take place in that issue would have been instituted otherwise. So yeah, I think they even do that in this with Wendigo there, when it shows Logan and everything. So if you wanted to check out what actually happened, there you go. There's your reference point. So you now have a fun project after you read that What If. But anyway,
I love homework.
yeah. Well, when it comes to reading comic books, is it really homework?
Nope.
Fun work.
Yeah. Well, it's almost 11, so I think we should wrap things up. Unless you have anything else there, Brandon.
No, I'm good, man. Thanks for reading the comic and let me do this with you guys here. This is awesome.
Yeah, sure. Fun read.
Yeah.
Always welcome, buddy. Both of you.
Absolutely.
We'll wrap it up. I want to actually, Brandon, this is going to be your show, so why don't you sign us off?
Oh, sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Powerful Brandon. This is Comics Paradox you've been listening to. You can check us out pretty much anywhere fine podcasts and broadcasts. Just want to follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter at Brandon's Powers and Instagram at this Brandon Has Powers. And let's hand it off to some of these other guys here. Hey, Rich, why don't you say peace out to everybody? Good buddy Velvet Joker.
Hey, well, first of all, thanks for having us on tonight. And for those that don't know, we are on a show called Splash Pages, which is also on the Dorkening Podcast Network. I'm Rich Davis, aka Velvet Joker. You can find me on Instagram at Velvet Joker 2021 or on TikTok at Velvet Joker 1. I highly suggest you guys check out the Splash Pages YouTube site. Please hit that subscribe button because it helps us. You don't necessarily have to watch every video, but if you just hit that, it helps us. If you want to help, hit it, the button. Do a flip, circle around 3 times, and then smash that button. Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Drew Mollo, what's going on with you, buddy? I like how you've laid your head down on a pillow with the blanket pulled up over your nose and are wearing aviators to bed.
It's his Weekend at Bernie's impression.
Hi, everybody. We had a great time tonight. I'm on some social medias. I'm very friendly in person.
Sorry.
And yeah, I'm tired, man. Like, Justin, take it away.
Yeah, we figured it out. Yeah, Justin, buddy.
My name is Sinestro, and I'm the magenta Green Lantern. Check me out on the Dorkening. You can find me on Facebook, Justin Cooper. Check out Epic Shells if you like Ninja Turtles. Everything there. It's a big positive turtle community. Lots of great stuff going on. And check out Epic Tales from the Sewers podcast, as well as the Dork Night and Comics Paradox, all on the Dorkening.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Leo.
And for me, just Google Leo Pond. I'm working on enough people to hate me that you need to form your own Legion of Doom. So if you want to join that, head on over to thedorkening.com. We got tons of shows on the network, a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. So you can find all the latest episodes there for everything. And with that, we will catch you guys later. Bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Have a good night.